5, 4, gather round, freaks. We are taking a post-apocalyptic adventure into a horrible factory filled with pervert mutants as the grimoire flips its green goopy pages once again. This chapter is dusty and made from lily pads. So gather around the internet radio transponder and gather around the internet campfire because it's time once again for... Hey, just this one?
With its covers tightly sealed and nightmares lurking within, the ancient book stirs ominously, whispering of unspeakable horrors and twisted sacrifices that have plagued the brave souls who dared to peek inside. But beware, for one of our sinister hosts has made a ghastly discovery. As the yellow pages were last turned, a malevolent truth unraveled. Pages are missing. Each one leading to a dark realm far more terrifying than the tome itself. A place where madness reigns, monstrous abominations lurk, and mayhem consumes all who venture too deeply. This chilling revelation serves as a stark reminder that monsters manifest in a myriad of forms. And Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to brave the darkest corners of mind, matter, and mystery in search of the Grimoire of Familiar Killers. Lost Pages.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? The weekly review, reaction, roundtable discussion podcast where we just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? On this show, we take a film, completely pull it apart, leaving no stone unturned. We're your co-hosts. I am Hell Comes to Jason R. Phillips, joined as always by Stephen Boba Blackfly Waters.
That's me.
This is episode 187, and if you're playing at home, it's season 3, episode 38. That's a lot of shows.
No, it's not. We can make it to 1,000, I bet.
We can make it to 1,000, I think. We're joined this week once again. This is a quick turnaround for a first-time guest to come back very fast. Pat King is back on the show. We'd like to welcome Pat
That's
King.
Because I was drunk on Trivial Debates, and I was like, Pat, you want to come back for 2 movies in a row? And you're like, yes.
Yes, I will talk about movies forever. I mean, Ants is like, okay, I was surprised I got as much as I did out of Ants. And I would just like to apologize to everybody for suggesting this movie and making them sit through it. I fucking love this movie. It is unhinged and it is bad, and I revel in it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where you can't believe what you're seeing, but you're like, what's coming next? And you never know. And you never know.
Wait, what are they
Oh.
doing now?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show, Pat King. We have to give you the old razzle dazzle.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Also, what's up, Kingsley? Yes, that's great.
Yeah, also welcome Kingsley. Oh, it's not. I thought I was going to loop. The clapping was going to loop. Never mind. Sorry, Kingsley. No clapping.
I turn off that loop fast now because of my pre-show stuff. But that's right. We're here. It's Thursday night, the classic night to do a show like this. Hey, did you see this one? We're talking, of course, about Hell Comes to Frogtown. Now this is supposed to be the Grimoire of Familiar Killers, the Lost Pages, where we cover a one-off horror, but this is more of a creature feature, and this
movie is horrifying. What are you talking about?
I'm horrified. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we went a little off track because talking to Pat, he's a very charismatic individual. He recommended it, and we wanted to have him back fast. Next week as well is another one where you want to have a previous guest come back fast. So it's a reptilian middle of the grimoire. There's a bunch of goopy, slimy, cold-blooded pages.
Also next week, more lizards. I guess this is technically amphibians, but yeah, we went on the cusps of this is sort of like in the at the back of the grimoire, there's a section that's like honorable tributes. These are mentions that we need to. They are pretty fucked. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because not a one-off. Two sequels made of this.
That's right.
Two.
I learned that literally today, and I was like, this isn't exactly.
And I haven't seen either of them. I had seen this movie previous to this, and it was one of those like, what is this? We have to watch this, right? Like we must.
I'm sure had you seen the third one, it would have doubled its viewership. I don't think anyone I know has seen like any of the sequels.
It's called like Max and Toad Town or something like that. But well, that's great. Why don't we do a little bit of a brief synopsis here, just so we can get the ball rolling on what this thing is.
A brief synopsis.
This thing.
Who's gonna show up? I'm not sure. Oh,
it's time for a synopsis, bitch.
No, Freddy Krueger. He's demanding we synopsize this movie.
Well. That's so good. Gooey.
It's the gooey Freddy from the second one too. Ugh. Get him back. Get away.
I have the most brief synopsis, if you'll allow me. Steve, you can add to this, but basically the movie is this. In a post-nuclear wasteland where fertile men are rare, one of the last virile survivors, a rough-talking drifter named Sandahl, played by Roddy Piper himself, is forced into a government mission.
His name is actually Samuel Hellington.
I go by Sam Hell. He's forced into a government mission to rescue a group of fertile women from mutant frog people. He's strapped into an explosive chastity belt and sent hopping into danger.
Oh,
that's basically.
It sounds like a ChatGPT description, Jason. I can smell it from a mile away.
Listen, I wrote out most of it. It added hopping, and I'm sorry for that.
All right.
It's just because I slammed the keyboard. I put everything into ChatGPT, and okay. Listen, is there anything you want to add to that? Because that only takes up about 80,
no. I mean that's
70%
perfect because that's all it is, and there's not really a lot going on in this movie. He has to go to a Frogtown to save a bunch of fertile women so that he can impregnate them on government order. He's part of. He's technically government property in this movie because he's loaded. He's a loaded weapon. Folks.
They describe him as he's carrying a loaded weapon.
Yeah,
they're
referring to his penis.
Do you guys think this movie was written by men or women?
Men.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you'd be
probably
correct.
One man. I'm gonna say probably one individual man wrote this movie.
As a matter of fact, it was two. So
it was two men.
And Randall breaks.
It skirts the line of pornography so hard without it actually being a porn movie that at points I was like, this is like written this is like literotica on screen.
Yeah, almost. It's like when you see those like auto-generated books that they sell on eBay where it's like, like Lady Helvetica in love with the dino thropper.
The dinosaurs. Yeah, I thought.
Right. Oh my! I can't believe that dinosaur erotica is a genre of literary fiction.
It is.
Well,
But
Tumblr,
Hell Comes to Frogtown
2008,
is
buddy.
likely a precursor to that.
But yeah, I was thinking the same thing because like this movie is like weird and fun, fancy at part. It reminds me of like those like sword and sorcerer barbarian movies from the 80s
Yeah.
that are like so over sexualized, but they're also like fun and whimsical. Where you're like, who is this for? Like this is for who? Like this
Well,
is for maybe like a person who's no longer a middle schooler, but is like nearing the end of high school where they still like weird shit, but they're like horny.
And it's the 80s.
Yeah.
Sandahl Bergman did a lot of those kinds of movies, which I think is why they chose her for her role, right? So,
Well, yeah, she had just come off of Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja, which are probably like high watermarks of that sword and sandal genre.
Yeah.
But then you had like Deathstalker 2,
That's
Amazon.
what I think that's the most accurate sort of comparison I can make is like this is like a Deathstalker movie. It kind of fits into the same box as to like who it's made for. If you like Deathstalker, you're probably gonna like Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah, I mean it's like Roger Corman adjacent. It's gratuitous. It's weird. They don't skimp on the effects
or the skimpiness. They don't skimp on the skimpiness.
Weirdly enough, I think there's only like one actual nude scene in the film.
It's true, but there's a lot of titillating scenes.
Yeah. A lot of it is trying to be sexy and failing pretty badly.
It's because even the main character himself, who is meant to be titillated within those scenes, is often being like, "This is making me uncomfortable. Can you stop, please?" Yeah, which I kind of appreciate. Like it's like this movie's maybe a little ahead of its time in terms of like horn dogginess. Like, just reel it in.
Well, and the irony is, I mean, we get introduced to Sam Hellman being interrogated for apparently committing some lascivious act with some sheriff's daughter.
And it's never really made clear whether or not that those allegations were truthful or not. All we know is that the dad is also a psychopath. So, you never really side with him, but it's not, I mean, based on his actions throughout the movie, we can assume that he was telling the truth at the beginning of the movie. But to have that be the opening introduction to your character makes you immediately be like, is this guy a terrible rapist in the Mad Max world? Because we know that they exist. Yeah.
Before we get too much into the plot, let's do our brief histories. And let's talk about where this movie came from for us.
Okay.
I don't want to.
A brief history.
Yeah, it's basically... what's your history with this movie? As you know, Pat, you've been here before. Why don't you go first and tell us your history? Because you chose this movie, buddy. You technically chose it.
Listen, I'm glad we're talking about it. This is one that I wanted to do for a while, so I'm happy it's here.
Well, and you kind of hit it. You hit pretty close to home, Jason. With the staying up really late as a teenager. 13, 14 years old. Parents are gone to bed. Very little oversight. Got 300 channels on the fucking satellite TV, and you're just channel surfing and watching movies. And I would watch so many of these god awful, sexploitation, blaxploitation, double feature late night bad, just god awful movies as a kid, and I kind of fell in love with them. And I have kind of a soft spot for bad movies that are earnest.
Me too, man. But like when they're not in on the joke a lot of the time, or like, I mean, this movie kind of skirts the line a little bit, but I
feel like it doesn't take itself too seriously. That's for sure. I feel like if it did try to take itself more seriously, it would fail miserably.
But the world feels like it has stakes, and it is realistic within the world, right? Like if you can kind of let yourself go for a minute and believe that there is a Frogtown, then that there are mutants there that are frog people, then like it feels sort of like well thought out to a certain degree,
Well, and it feels like there could have been more there, and that it could have been a better movie. Apparently, they did cut a bunch from the script. They had to combine a couple of, more than a few characters. They had to cut like B storylines. So when you say, there's not a ton there plot wise, it's because I think it comes in at like an hour 26 minutes. So it's not a really long movie either.
Yeah.
It doesn't even break that like hour and a half mark. So I feel like there was a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor, or basically thrown out because they didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah. And even just you saying that, I can already in my brain figure out which characters got combined. Like that eye patch frog man, that guy was probably 3 different characters at one point. And they're like, just put them all into like one sort of Sheriff of Nottingham style character who loves torture or whatever.
Right. Bull, as in frog or whip, because I love his like entrance. Tutu myself.
No, that's good. I didn't even really kind of put together that he's a bullfrog and he loves bull whip. That's good. That's good.
See, listen, I've plumbed the depths of this film.
Pat wrote this movie. Pat secretly wrote this movie. Yeah.
I wish I wrote this movie.
You wrote it when you were like 4. And it's like that South Park episode where Butters is writing the like her boobs boobed boobingly.
Pure boobage.
Yeah.
Well, and in that vein, like another one of those films that I watched way too young at 2 a.m. was Heavy Metal. Yeah. A lot of that like pulpy stuff. To this day, I collect old issues of Heavy Metal from like the 80s and 90s. So yeah, just stuff that's fucking off-kilter sci-fi. Doesn't have to be good. I just have a real soft spot for it. And because, everyone's got to have their, popcorn. Everyone's got to have their junk food. Some people it's, bad romance movies. Some people it's Christmas movies. Just give me a sci-fi with boobies and shotguns and I'm happy,
That's me too, man. Pat, are we falling in love? No, I'm just kidding. I swear that
already hasn't happened twice.
That's right. True, I'm in love with both of you. So
I feel like that's exactly
power thruple.
Yeah, I often call them I often call movies chicken noodle soup movies, but this is sort of like you call a junk food movie. This is exactly it. Instead of binging on caramel corn, you're binging on the Amazon women, cannibal women of the of the avocado jungle or whatever, and you're like, I fucking love this.
Yeah, this is
a real movie, by the way.
The Amazon women of the avocado jungle. Hook me up.
The cannibal women of the avocado jungle of death is what it's called.
Wow. This is the kind of junk food movie equivalent to when you're staggering home from the bar and you get a McChicken and a McDouble and you stuff one into the other. Like that's
Oh, a McGangbang?
That's the one.
All right, later, Lux.
Bye, Lux.
Bye.
So yeah, my history with this film is essentially being left alone with 300 channels and no bedtime.
Yeah. I mean, if I can go into my brief history, it's fairly recent because I'd never heard of it, but I'm surprised that I hadn't, because this is the type of movie that I would ingest sometimes at my own peril as a teenager. We would often watch movies just because they were there, right? And this would have been one of them. It reminds me of sort of like Uwe Ball movies where they're so awful, but you're like, I'm kind of laughing along at this, but maybe there's a bit of laughing along with it to be in. There's a little bit of that there, but like within this, maybe more so, right? The movie knows it's goofy, and everybody in it is hamming it up, right? Like there's not a single performance in this movie that doesn't know that they're in a ridiculous movie, and none of them. I don't think anybody on set thought they were making Star Wars or Mad Max. They're like, no, we're making like a shitty thing, and let's just embrace it. And I think they did.
The fact that they even spent the money to get Roddy Piper an acting coach, it's just like, really?
And I mean, it kind of shows like he's not bad. Like he's not that bad in this movie. He's not great, but he's not bad.
Well, I think it did actually lend some help to They Live. Although, with a director like John Carpenter, you don't need an acting coach because the acting coach should be the director. So I feel like there was a lot of people at the helm of this movie who kind of weren't as professional as someone like John Carpenter, not as creative. But they still managed to put something together that was kind of fun.
Yeah. The first time I watched it was not too long ago. So there's an ambulance going by. But we watched it together and we were like, okay, this is fine. And then we're like, okay, this is actually kind of great. And then we're like, and it's weird again. Oh, now it's fun again. Oh, now it's weird again. And that's kind of like up and down the whole time. And then by the end, you're like, they could have ended this like 4 times already, but they really need to wrap up every loose end in the narrative, which I guess I appreciate. But at the same time, I forgot about that character from the beginning. They did not need to bring him back. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. And then when watching it the second time, it's like my brain had purged it. Like my brain was like, get it out. And then I was like rewatching it. And I'm like, oh, I remember all this. It's like remembering a horrible nightmare. But you know, like I don't dislike it, and I'm glad you picked it, Pat, because I'm happy we're talking about this piece of shit. Jason, how about you?
Listen, I this is one of those movies that throughout the years everybody was like, have you seen Hell Comes to Frogtown? Because I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a fan of Roddy Piper. And something interesting came up along over the years where in South Park, Jimmy and Timmy fight each other, and it's called triple fight. I know that's an uncouth phrase now, but I always thought that was a reference to this movie. It turns out it's a reference to They Live, and that scene where they fight each other is a shot-for-shot remake of the fight from They Live between Piper and Steve's favorite actor of all time,
Keith David.
And
yeah. Which,
for some reason,
the first time that's been shot for shot.
But I for some reason thought in Hell Comes to Frogtown there was a actual fight between 2 disabled individuals. Of course, that's not true.
Why did you think this? Hold on. What led you to believe this? Is like my real question.
People, the crux of this very show is, hey, did you see this one? Which is like, you go to a party, you talk to somebody about film, and they ask you, have you seen this? Have you seen this or that? And just through the years, I wove this picture in my head because people were giving me information about They Live and Hell Comes to Frogtown, and then the episode of South Park comes out. It's fully incorrect and it's wrong. I get that, and I know that now. But I just, for some reason, I thought this movie had that. So as far as brief histories go, I just wanted to bring that up because it's
as
dumb.
Offensive as this movie is. I'm glad that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Pushed it over the.
I don't think it could have handled it. Yeah.
But as far as like my actual brief history connected to that, of course, I watched this movie earlier this year, fully reviewed it. I'm gonna, as my final thoughts, I'm gonna read my review, my initial reaction to it. But I'm sure this movie would have been on late night, like Pat was saying. I didn't have satellite when I was a kid, but I did have a black box, and I did have like extended cable, and I'm sure I saw bits and pieces, but I never sat down and watched it in full until the year of our Lord 2025. And I'm glad I did. And I was like, you know what? This is perfect for this show, but we're probably, as long as we can go without revisiting it. I hope it's going to be long from now. But actually, it wasn't this year. It was November.
Jason, the name of this segment is Brief History.
You guys just talked for fucking 15
We
minutes.
had actual history. You're just making up manufactured history.
It's not manufactured. It's literally that's how I perceived that element of it. But my brief history is I watched it in November of 2024 for the first time, then rewatched it today. And I will say, I remember it to be way less horny than when I watched it and had to actually like analyze.
Less than a year ago, like several months ago. You're like, wait a minute, this is way hornier than I remember.
Because a lot of movies I put on while like I'm on my lunch break or like downtime at work, like a movie on in the background. You guys do it. You put movies on in the background. It's sort of like TV in the background. This was one of those, and I think I was just like blocking out the horny parts and just focusing back in
on
when
work,
they got to
you're like, hello, IT, may I help you? While there's like someone strip teasing to get Roddy horny in the corner
multiple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my brief history.
All right.
So why don't we go into production talk?
Yeah.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit.
Sound. Speed. Action!
And much like last week when we talked about Village of the Damned, this was probably very much a let's shoot this piece of shit film. Maybe not. We're going to talk about it. The budget for this movie,
I feel like everybody goes
ranges-
into a movie trying a little bit. Right?
trying it. This wasn't supposed to be a direct-to-video movie, so I couldn't find any box office record of how much money it made, and I also found that it made somewhere between, it cost between 1.5 and 7 million, depending. So I don't really know. This is somebody cooked the books. There was a lot of cocaine
It also
involved.
has 2
clearly.
sequels, so it did well enough to warrant 2 sequels. Somehow.
Right.
no.
So
No.
sequel.
Yeah, both of those sequels combined probably had less of a budget than this movie.
Hey,
Yeah.
still got sequels. I would love a modern remake of Hell Comes to Frogtown, starring Timothy Chalamet. No, I'm just kidding.
Timothy Chalamet as the frog, not even as Piper.
As all the frogs, like in an Eddie Murphy situation, he plays.
You gotta stay with the pro wrestler. I feel like John Cena would be a good.
He might be too big now, though. He might. He might have been able to do a remake of this 10
What
years
about a
ago
Batista?
before he-
Or
Batista's
maybe-
also too big.
I know.
Maybe
MJF.
gets it made.
Batista's hotter than Cena. In my
We have to
get-
start championing this movie, and like, what if one of them wants to make it? They'll throw money at
That's
them.
true. Get a
MJF is
relatively
that.
like
Ooh.
somebody that not the masses don't know, like somebody that I wouldn't know, but is super passionate about Hell Comes to Frogtown. Like it's a passion project.
Let me set this up for you. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He put money into Iron Claw to get it made. He has a producer credit on that because he put so much into
that's a
it.
good movie.
That was a good film.
Yeah.
He only has a very minor role. Most of it actually got cut. He plays Adam Sandler's son in the new Happy Gilmore. And in wrestling, he's a kind of like the young Ric Flair style character. He's very good on the mic. He's kind of a Piper style character too, where he's always just like ranting. I think MJF would be perfect for where he is in his career to do a full remake of this thing.
You sold me.
I don't know who he is, so bring him on. Bring him on. I don't know. I don't know nothing about wrestling.
Speaking of, this was Piper's first major venture into acting, and it sort of catapulted him into that sphere. He would go on to do They Live this very same year, which is incredible.
Yeah. I'd say one of the biggest jumps in quality from a first feature to a second feature that any actor has ever seen.
And like, I guess John Carpenter, I think we've spoken about it before on the podcast, loves wrestling. So like, the fact that he's only really used one wrestler is kind of shocking to me, that he didn't do like a bunch of them. But I think, They Live, obviously one of John Carpenter's best films, in my opinion. It's a hard turn left to Frogtown. I'll tell you that much. If you love They Live, you're not going to get the same vibe from this. But Roddy Piper's not the problem with this movie. I think he's good. I think he's fine in this. I think he's doing that
and choose the scenery.
Cross-eyed, my dick hurts moves. Like, like he's doing it all. He's doing it great. It's fine.
Yeah, and I love that they gave him his like Henry Cavill moment when he's chained up at the end and his shirt's open. Yeah. Everyone in this film is covered in water all the time. Everything is wet for the last
movie
of the movie.
I was watching this with Danny, and Danny was like, was he considered hot at the time? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't. But like at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, not hot. But then by the end of the movie, I'm like, he's kind of hot. Like he kind of grew on me a little bit. Like I'm kind of into him now. So
and I hate that I think a lot of it is because of like what they wrote him doing. And he is kind of a redeemable character. They set you up to hate him, and then you're like, oh no, he's actually kind of kind.
He doesn't want to have sex with a drugged woman.
And we'll get to that. I can't wait to discuss the moments when this film borders on. You're like, oh, they're not gonna
do it, and then they don't really. But also, it's never at the detriment of the main character, where we are built up to hate, and then we're supposed to fall in love with throughout the movie. And I think it successfully does it. Like this movie could have aged like fucking milk, you know, but it
Yeah.
like it's kind of fine, and it's a little bit, lest I use the word woke. Should I use the word?
My only real problem is with the conceit of the movie, like being so obviously like a man fantasy, but even that, it's not
It's called
like
a
he doesn't
fantasy, Jason. Come on.
he doesn't like sexually assault anybody. In fact, the whole character is like,
does
he's
the
like so
opposite of it,
spent. He's so like worn out by the whole idea that he's like, I don't know, maybe you guys stop lusting after me. So I think woke is
I think
a great way to look at it.
you've misread that. It's not that he's worn out and spent by it. It's that he legitimately doesn't want to do it, and he's pretending like he can't because he's like, this isn't like, I'm too tired, or like I don't want to do it because he just doesn't want to do it. He's like, I'm not a disgusting monster. You guys are treating me like a robot.
Men to be like, oh, men are just fucking sex machines who want to bang all the time because they're horny monsters. And he kind of he subverts that by just being like, nah, you know, I'm not a light switch that you can turn on and off at any time.
He literally says that, I'm not a machine you can turn on and off. And
then
she's like, how about now? And he's like, well, I mean, that's kind of working, but no, I still don't want to rape anybody.
The movie's kind of a roller coaster in that respect, where it starts and you're like, okay, sci-fi, and then it gets kind of weird, the electric cod piece, and you know, it goes back and forth where you're just like, oh, is this going to be trash that's like that ages badly and gets canceled? And it just skirts the line every time.
It gets away. You're like, I don't know if he should have got away, but I'll let him go this time. And if he makes one or two more sequels, we're coming.
By the end of it, you find yourself chuckling with all the characters, and you're like, oh no, everyone here is happy. Everyone here is like unmolested.
And that's the thing that I like about this. Like it's hammy and campy in a really fun way, and not like they don't hit you over the head with it too much. They don't even really introduce that element of the movie till a little bit. Like they set the world up, and then they even like reveal it in a kind of an expedition dump from that first.
Well, we're not really talking about director or production talk, because I don't really have any additional information to add, because I don't know much about it. But
all I wanted to really add is Donald G. Jackson is a pretty prolific producer director. I don't know if I know any of these movies. Probably don't need to
no, don't list them if you don't know them.
Exactly. But he did direct 41 films, and the other director,
maybe list a couple, because maybe I've seen them.
Well, I mean, have you seen, let's see, Debbie Does Damnation or Lingerie Kickboxer?
Have you seen Lingerie or Armageddon Boulevard or Ghost Taxi?
Okay, stop now.
Frank
Roller Gator.
Baby
I
Ghost.
said stop. Everybody stop.
1.5.
But RJ Kitzer worked on the first American Godzilla 1985.
Robert Downey Kitzer was in this?
Yes.
That was my funny joke.
Which is a film I remember renting and being like, what? This isn't Godzilla. Why do they capture the Godzilla and treat it like a baby?
I
think it has a baby
Godzilla
in it.
Steve Wang, who did all the special effects.
That was my nickname in high school, by the way.
Steve Wang.
Just kidding.
Slang and Wang. But he did all of the special effects on a pretty shoestring budget. Like, they didn't have a ton of money, and they were doing full body prosthetics. And he actually went on to be co-director on The Guyver.
Oh, The Guyver.
Oh, I love The Guyver.
Yeah. With Mark Hamill and all the based on an anime with the full body biomech suits and shit. So he wound up he co-directed that and did a lot of the special effects on The Guyver. So I think he cut his teeth pretty well on this movie doing full body prosthetics. So I think it led to something that was, The Guyver was equally campy, but that was another movie that I watched.
And we should give a tip of the hat of the Wang. To I mean, because it is good. Like for the most part, the prosthetics in this movie are good. There's a couple of like maybe not great, but most of it is good. Like the guy who's like smoking in the fez and shit, and like under his umbrella, like that kind of stuff was working for me. It felt very Star Warsy, and I'm like, I'm into this.
They put a lot of money into Toady, like the main final boss. I thought
Yeah.
that his art direction was very good. So I agree as well.
I was hoping we would see some other mutants that are like a Squid Man or something, you know, like more Star Warsy shit. But like, and like maybe the implication is like Frogtown is one of many towns. Like maybe there's a pig town, maybe there's a giraffe town,
Dog
everyone's got long
town.
necks. Yeah, there could be
What you're
so
saying
many
is there's
towns.
space for an actual sequel.
Yeah,
A proper
exactly.
one.
Yeah.
That's how you world build properly.
What you're saying is we
you
want
hint
more
at
of
something else.
Frogtown.
Croc-town would be good. Welcome to Croc-town.
Oh, yes.
They're all amphibious. That'd be
No,
great. Same
they're
thing.
all regular. They just are like have Crocs fused to their feet. Oh my god, Croc-town.
40 years before
If
the Croc
people
was
hunt them
invented.
for their Crocs, they shoot them and skin their feet, so they have luxurious, like breezy footwear. Anyway,
Aren't Crocs originally from like Fifth
Idiocracy.
Element? They're from Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. They wanted a shoe that looked so dumb that
Okay,
no
yeah.
one could believe that they would wear them. That for me, that fact depresses me big time.
the fact that Idiocracy, the first coming of Idiocracy was the Croc, and then now we're actually in it almost.
Now we're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plants
That's a fact I
crave
No.
energy drinks. Listen, I think that we can get into the body of the
Electrolytes.
episode. Yeah.
It has what they crave. Okay, yeah, let's get into the body of the episode.
The body of the episode.
So I'll add to my brief synopsis. They give an explanation at the top of the film. Basically, in the latter days of the 20th century, there's a nuclear war. They thought it would end with a couple of nukes, but the world is nuked into the Stone Age. 10 years later, they try to rebuild civilization, but there's freaky mutants everywhere. And the movie opens up with a couple of raider bandits arguing over, I think, a Statue of Liberty statue.
Yeah, they try to do sort of like it's almost like a Kubrick-esque bait and switch, where it's like something
They do the
very,
perspective.
yeah, very impactful, and then it's diminished pretty quickly, where it's like, oh no, it's actually just a tiny statue of the Statue of Liberty.
Well, and I think that was a vague reference to 'cause they originally pitched the movie
Planet
as
of the
Mad
Apes.
Max meets Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
So I think it was a Planet of the Apes pastiche.
most definitely, but the way it's shot, like they're trying to get too big for their britches, metaphorically, you know, and you're like, okay, got it.
Although, I mean, you do kind of brush over the intro narration, which I loved the opening line, because the first time I saw it and subsequent rewatches, I'm like, you could kind of expect a really good movie just based off the intro, and it kind of sums up the humor. When in the latter days of the 20th century, there arose a difference of opinion, and it hard cuts to a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's a great line. That's a great opener.
This is the 80s, where the Cold War was still getting hot. You know, it wasn't done with yet.
But then, like in 2025, I feel like we're moments away from, well, we'll just shoot them with one nuke, and then all the nukes start to fucking
listen, man, it's been like that since the Cold War. It's never really stopped. It's just now it's getting to a point where we're actually kind of getting sweaty around the collar again. Like, this gonna happen?
They do sum it up in the narration. They go, oh, they thought that they could shoot one or two nukes, and like everyone would come to the table and figure out their differences. ... They were wrong.
They were wrong. They kept nuking each other into oblivion, into Fallout status.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a smart, little bit of social commentary to open the film. Unfortunately, that thread is loose and doesn't really go anywhere.
And it kind of we kind of lose the plot on that immediately. These raiders sort of fight. We're introduced to Squid Lips right at the top of the movie.
Yeah, and Squid Lips. So humanity's already come up with like half a dozen different racial slurs for this new irradiated.
Greeners is a little on the nose.
Right, yeah.
I'd say. But
we don't need to go through all of them. We might get demonetized or something.
Exactly. Raiders aren't supposed to have guns, and he ribbits.
No, he says greeners aren't supposed to have guns, which we're like, what? And then it's kind of great. Like the way he shoots him in the head, and then we don't know what's going on, and it slow pans on his face, and you're like, rabbit. And you're like, that's like how it comes to Frogtown. I'm like, that is such a good way to intro a movie. But then, like you've said, it just kind of doesn't live up to that opening sequence. You know, it's like such a good cold open that doesn't quite live up to the rest of the movie. It's like better than the rest of the movie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it really does set you up to be let down, and the fact that by the end of the movie, you can feel as good as you do about it is like, man, they really kind of threaded the needle there, you know?
You can also tell that, like, you know, there's like 4 or 5 sequences on the way to Frogtown of him just like going through like wacky antics with these 2 women, right? Where it's like there could have been 30 minutes of cool Frogtown lore to explore, and like cutting back and forth, that setting some characters up within Frogtown, letting us know what we're up against. I do like the idea of not seeing Frogtown until you're in Frogtown, until you're watching it and you're like, I'm kind of getting bored of this sexploitation stuff that's been happening for the last 25 minutes. Can I get the Frogtown already? And they get there, and it's, you know, like 2 sets and a 3-dicked king or whatever. You're like,
yeah, because the only bit of world building in the first like entire act is they leave from civilization to go to Frogtown, and they run into 3 fucking murderous Gestapo. And that's it. Like, that is the only other location.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think that as the movie goes on too, the quality of the set pieces diminish. You know, like I also noticed that they ran out of money as the movie went, as I found. We get the credit sequence, which is it's not a typical credits. It feels very like straight to VHS, like here are the actors in the movie.
I liked it. I liked the credit sequence. I think it reminds me of spaghetti westerns from like the 60s and stuff, and like it's very like heavily influenced by like Giallo, and it looks, it's cool. Like it's comic booky. Like I don't know if this is based on a comic book, but it makes it feel like it is, even if it isn't. I like that sort of like, you know, like the ink blotted filling of the characters' faces and the photography and stuff, and the different colors and all that stuff. I think again, the movie is like setting you up for something that's a little bit more artistic than the movie actually is. You know, like you get through it, you're like, is this going to be like a Tarantino movie? And then you watch it and you're like, no, it's a horny movie.
So we have a director connected now with MJF as Sam Hell. Tarantino's Hell Comes to Frogtown with MJF as Sam Hell. I think that we're building something here. This opening sequence is Roddy Piper's
Macon Blair. I don't know if you've ever seen Macon Blair. Did Blue Ruin. I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. He was in Green Room. I'm big fan of Macon Blair. I think he'd fucking destroy this movie. Also, he's attached to the new Toxic Avenger.
Yeah,
right.
I'm dying to see. So that's
we should all go see it together.
His name in the ring for director.
Pat, book a flight for whenever the Toxic Avenger comes out. We'll all see it together.
Oh, exactly. I'll get a fucking tattoo that weekend. Like I fuck with the
I think Peter Dinklage is going to be. I think he's going to grow up. Like I think he's going to mutate into a taller Peter Dinklage in that film.
I don't think so.
No,
that's my theory.
I don't think Peter Dinklage would allow that.
Right.
And I also don't think that they need to do that. That doesn't seem like a thing they would need to do.
No, I want to see him kneecapping people with a fucking mop.
Yeah, exactly.
Just taking their legs clean off.
So Roddy Piper's captured and interrogated. He's knocked out by this like general guy. As he's about to have his testicles castrated, 2 women
with
show
a
up
broken bottle, by
with
the
a
way.
broken bottle. This guy,
and the only reason the bottle's broken is because it was broken over his head, which is very like he escalates that interrogation to like he goes from 0 to 100 within a second. It's like, that lady was my daughter. You're like, maybe, you know, work the thighs or something first before you go immediate to bottling him.
Well, and this is where I was kind of confused as to like, what are we supposed to think about Sam Hell as a person?
Yeah.
When they come in and they go, no, that girl recanted her story. Yeah. Maybe she changed her mind because now she's pregnant.
And you're still not sure. You're not certain of like,
right? Like,
did he
wait,
actually or did he not?
yeah, did he? And now she's like, oh my god, I'm pregnant. Like, don't hurt him. Or yeah, no.
And we never meet this character, so we don't know. We can't be certain. But
Yeah,
the movie does leave
like later in the movie, it's Captain Devlin is the guy's name, and we find out what his reasoning is. But at this point in the movie, we don't know why he's got Sam.
No, we do.
In this
he says
situation.
It.
Well, yeah,
he literally says it. He says,
"Does he talk about this at this point?"
Yeah, he says, he's like, "I didn't rape her," and he's like, he's like, "You're here for rape," and he's like, "I didn't rape her." He's like, "That woman is lying," and he's like, "That woman is my daughter," and then he bottles him. Like that's the reason he bottles him.
Yeah, but yeah, when the government med women come in, they say she's changed story maybe now that she's pregnant, and it makes you what the circumstances were, and I feel like leaving that ambiguity makes us less trustful of the main character.
Yeah,
they could have made him that could have been his save the cat moment, or that could have been his like, we really go, oh, he's a good guy, we know that we can trust him.
And you also and because my rewrite brain is like being like, how do you change that without introing that other character as well to have her explain why she changed the story? It's not really pertinent to the story overall, but it is extremely important to our understanding of the character. And you're right. You're left kind of like being skeezed out by this man the entire time because you're like, he might be a sexual predator. Like, and I don't know.
Because even with all the good things he does later, the way that they try to like redeem him, it's like, yeah, but if he's a rapist,
we shouldn't trust him, right?
Yeah, we shouldn't be.
He's left a string of pregnancies, is what that it's presented to us like that, right? Like, so you don't really know. You do because of you've seen the movie before, I guess. But if you've never seen the movie, I guess the onus of blame is on Sam Hell to be this rapist person.
Well, and they even like nudge him in that direction because they go, your mission, we're going to send you to Frogtown, and there are people that were kidnapped there, and they are fertile women. We want you to go save them and then fuck them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need him to go into the wasteland and impregnate women.
Yeah. And it's like, wait, is this just government sanctioned sexual assault? Or
I think that the idea though is that like everybody in this world is so used to the idea of nobody being able to get pregnant that the idea of getting pregnant is extremely exciting to everyone, right?
Right.
Which again, like you said, it doesn't help the case for Sam Hell because we don't know if he's actually a monster or not. The movie's job now for the rest of the movie is to allow us to figure out if he is. And I guess that's sort of the journey we're on, is to figure out, is he a monster? Is he not a monster? And by the end, you're like, he's clearly not, because he doesn't want it to force himself on anybody at all, ever. But you're so uncertain about it that you already have a bad taste in your mouth for this character right off off the bat. And he's not charming enough or handsome enough as a person for you to immediately be like swooned away from it,
I also realized they remade this movie. It's called Children of Men.
Okay. Listen, Jason, the concept of humanity being fucking infertile has been done 1,000 times.
Fair enough. But how about this comment?
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. Listen, I have a question for you guys. Once he's saved and he's in like that laboratory with the two.
It's pronounced
nurses.
Laboratory, Jason.
The laboratory with the two nurses.
And he's got his chastity diaper on or whatever.
How do they test his sperm? Does he put the chastity diaper on and it?
No, they just took sperm out his balls.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they stuck something up his pecker.
Yeah,
they
jabbed a needle in his testes.
Came back positive for
it came back high.
The highest spermatozoan count we've ever seen.
Yeah. And that one character, she's like the voice of the government, I guess. And she's kind of hyping you up for it. not the
she's the Amanda Waller of
she's got she her voice reminds me of the Amanda Waller from like the animated shows and shit, like the way she's talking.
Like gave me big vibes.
Yeah.
That nurse does give an expedition dump, and she says the war reduced the male population by 68%. It also made most of the human race sterile. Now they're in a population war with each side desperate to rebuild, which requires manpower. So he has to keep the cyber
semen,
pum power,
penis.
He has to keep that cyber chastity belt on until it's time to do his thing. And then we get a video transmission.
You know, this is another predictive movie because next year Elon Musk is coming out with the cyber chastity belt.
The Tesla chastity belt.
But it rusts if you get cum on it. Yeah.
It just fails immediately.
Yeah.
We get the video transmission that says that mutants have attacked a camp and killed nearly 200 people and have taken all the fertile women away. Now, I know why you guys were talking about ants, because this movie during this segment has the ants go marching one by one.
Yeah. The ants go marching, which I'm sure they only use because it's in the public domain,
or because of the sperms, like go marching one by one.
Sperms go marching.
I don't think sperm goes one by one. I think it's more like a nuclear bomb. Even you could call it a nuclear bomb. But I guess only one sperm gets in. I don't really know why they use it. I guess because it's a militaristic sounding song. Like it has a military vibe to it, and they're, and it's kind of jaunty and it's a fun song. But yeah, as soon as I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. This song is in this movie and ants. We need to now look up every movie where the ants go marching one by one is featured, and just make a playlist just for Pat every time.
But both films are bleak and weird in similar ways, Like,
what a strange coincidence. Two dystopian films that involve ants, but one with far more sex.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they both have sex. They're both horny movies. Ants
that scene in Ants
just as horny as this. They're just not as much
just
gratuitous.
Bringing the babies up to the queen.
But every time Stallone is on screen, he's like, "Whoa, check out the fucking legs on that one over there."
Trying to pound me some ant.
Yeah. So you're telling me I get to oogle all of those worker girls? Ooh la la.
That's a nice piece of ant.
Very good.
Look at the thorax on that.
Yeah. They stuff into what is this car? Like, what is this vehicle that they're driving? It's like a
why is it pink? And it's supposed to be
because
an ambulance.
Women run the world now, you idiots. Everything's pink.
Everything's pink. But it's not even an ambulance. It's got a gun on top.
It's a manbulance. It's full of cum and guns. That's what it's for.
They're still at war. I wrote a note here? Did he take things seriously until they blew it all up? I don't remember why I wrote that, but I think there was something with Piper, Sandahl being like, he was part of the war. Anyway,
he was in the war that caused this hellscape that they live in.
Yeah,
which means it didn't happen that long ago because it's 10 years. I mean, they say that, right? It's been only 10 years. So I guess he's supposed to be in his 30s, maybe in this movie. I don't really know.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so he would have been a younger man during the war, and I guess when the nukes went off, his balls were fine. His balls are fine afterwards.
He just turned the other way.
Or he was one of those rare guys that got super sperm from the bombs. Everyone else died. They got, incinerated, but he got mega powers from.
Is that implied a little bit though? Like he's a mutant. No other man can.
I don't think they ever imply
reproduce.
I mean, we can imply it. We can infer.
That's my headcanon.
Yeah. Let's
hear the theory. Let's hear the theory jingle on that one.
All right.
Theories.
theory is that he is super sperm, and that's why he can endlessly impregnate women, and they don't ask any other questions. Because if you know, when you have sex, it's not 100% guarantee that you're going to impregnate a person. It's not even a high. It's not even a high probability.
Yeah,
There is a probability.
I don't know if any of this is actual science, guys.
Yeah, it's just a shotgun of hyper-virulent sperm. Just
No.
Listen.
Anyway, so yeah, he's got super virile cum or whatever, and like that's why they're sending him into the desert.
well, and I love that the literal call to action is, we're gonna get him out, and you're gonna get him pregnant.
Yeah.
The literal call to action.
Fuck. I wanted to play something right as you said that, but I missed my opportunity. It's too late now, so we'll save it for later.
Okay. Any opportunity.
Yeah.
I knew which one it was going to be. They get to the checkpoint. The guy that comes out, is that the same guy? Is that the Captain Devlin character?
Yeah.
He comes out. They say
you can tell because his face looks weird and his voice is crazy.
Well, and he's a villain for no reason.
His daughter got potentially raped. He hates him. He hates Sam Howe.
I mean, I guess.
Also, he wants the men to resume control of the world.
Right. So
yes. It is also revealed that he hates women to a degree that is insular, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, pretty on par with the 80s. Emphasis on the in. Jesus Christ.
He's an incel. That's my theory.
Yeah, he's an incel.
No woman will fuck him because he's insane.
He's a He-Man woman hater, if you are going by the Married with Children rules.
Oh, I thought was Little Rascals rules.
It's kind of both. It is kind of both.
Yeah.
They say they're not going through, and they almost have a standoff, but they eventually let him go into greener territory. They're heading into Frogtown. The frogs have fertile women that Roddy is going to get pregnant. So
they're not frog women, by the way, listener. They're human women.
Human women. There are frog women too.
Frog people.
I know, but the way you said they're fertile, it made it sound like they were fertile frog women. The way you worded it, so I had to clarify. I assume the frog people can fuck no problem, right? Like that's the whole issue. Is like these frog people are everywhere, and you know the women lay like 100 eggs, and then they spawn like 1,000,000 frogs. I feel like what they wanted visually from this movie was Frogtown to be like absolutely ram packed with frogs. You know, like like 1,000,000 frogs. Like a plague of frogs almost.
But doing the full body makeup, they could only afford like 3.
Yeah.
And
they had 3 frogs in all of Frogtown, and the rest of them just humans, just regular old humans everywhere. Yeah,
I'd call
some of them
Casbolts.
The ones that didn't have like noses and had kind of flat faces.
They look kind of cool though.
Yeah,
they look like half frog, half human. They look like Star Wars creatures, you know, like where they're like just scaly humans, like, and they're like, out of my way, flat lips or whatever. You're like, oh, geez.
I think Worldmind has another great comment that we're gonna immortalize right now. Okay.
Oh, it's the same one.
Yeah,
it's just backwards. You just switched it around. And
we may need to vet those.
That's comments. Our show for this week. We'll see you next time when we don't talk about licking ass or fucking kids. So they stop to gas up. Piper tries to escape when he says he's going to go pee, but his belt zaps him. Then we find
beeping, and you're like, I need to ask you guys a question. If you're running away with a diaper on that was attached by the government and it starts beeping,
made of metal, which you know has an ounce of C4 in it,
but you don't know. He doesn't know that yet.
You don't know.
He does not know
about to find out.
He learns that very shortly after this moment. But
okay,
you have to assume they put it on you for a reason. It's got a flap. You can still access your balls or whatever. But he's sprinting and it starts beeping, and the beeps are getting closer and closer together the further and further away he gets. And I'm like, what does he think's gonna happen when the beeps eventually become one long beep?
No, but he gets
okay.
He gets fully zapped. He gets fully zapped. Also,
I know, but I'm saying what's going through his head. What would go through your
yeah.
head if the beeps were getting closer and closer together? That's just logically, it's going to be a bad thing. It's
if
not...
they had an Amanda Waller character to show up at the beginning and be like, if you try to escape, a bomb is going to explode in your neck.
It's also crazy they didn't tell him that, considering he's so valuable.
Well, yeah, he's incredibly valuable. Which that that was a note that I had made of just like, why would you blow this man in half if he is there to repopulate the Earth? You know, just put the electricity in it. But don't go full fucking Seaman side squad on him and just.
And they even almost like Seaman side.
That's a shirt.
That's good. A shirt. Yeah, write it down. Seaman side squad. Seaman side squad.
Just the entire Suicide Squad and fucking explosive cod pieces.
Yeah. If you leave, we're gonna blow your dicks off.
But as he runs away and he gets zapped, she catches up, and this is what another exposition dump of if anybody tries to open it, there's a bomb. If he tries to escape, Spangle has earrings. One is a sensor to always bring her back to the chastity belt, but also if they're disconnected from her body, he blows up. But also he gets electrocuted if he gets too far away.
Yeah, I think what she actually says is like, if you get too far away, I'm gonna blow your dick out your ass.
Jesus Christ. Oh man, this speaking of blow your dick out your ass, this next sequence is the softcore porn of it all.
All right.
He's trying to go to sleep. Spangle comes out of her tent dressed like a maniac, trying to seduce him. She's like, I have a seduction arousal dance I can give to you.
She's been trained for it. She's been trained in seduction by the, I don't know, government. I don't know what classes they sent her to.
Which is frankly the most unsexy thing I've ever seen. It has to be one of the most awkward attempts at seduction committed to film ever.
But like kind of into it a little bit. Kind of a little bit like, I don't know why this is doing it for me, but
I feel like I was more into Centinella polishing her gun, and I don't know what that says about me.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I was more into Centinella because she is hot. I love that slick back short hair, the trinity of it all. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And I love the like.
But she's infertile. Remember, I mean, I guess they both are, right? They're both infertile.
They're both infertile.
Yeah.
Because that's like part of like the ending bit when they kiss. She's like, I'm infertile. But Centinella sees this happening, zaps him, and then it's revealed that we were just trying to keep you aroused because you're gonna have to do your thing soon. We can't have you unhorny. Which is so fucking manipulative and weird.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep you horny all the time because we never know when you're gonna need to fuck.
Also, I don't know if that's real. Like,
no, that
making
is
somebody
not...
horny doesn't make them more virile, does it? I don't think so.
Maybe it's edging.
Scientist, but I don't think so.
Edging?
Is this gooning?
Isn't gooning just jerking it? I don't know what gooning is really, to be honest. I know that it's a word.
I'm not going to reveal that I know what it means.
So anyway, it just meant that you were horny for everything.
This movie was chronically online before the internet.
Yeah. This is what created
it's also woke, right?
Yeah. Just so many mixed messages going on here because Spangle tries to seduce him. Turns out, she admits that she's trying to keep him aroused, and then Centinella jumps his bones middle of the night, even though it could get her court-martialed. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I feel like it could get you executed if you waste sperm in this world of like birthless waste. You can't be spilling seed. The seed is valuable.
10 minutes.
Yeah, my main question is why not just like have him set him up into like a milking machine and just like use his sperm to that
would make more sense.
But
I also like the implication that this cyber chastity belt has like a flap for his dick.
No, it definitely isn't like that. It's like because you never see it open, but you hear a you hear like a crazy spring sound effect, like it's spring loaded. Yeah,
I think it's said as a running gag like 3 times in the movie. It's just like there's a flap.
yeah, and then you hear, but when you hear it open, it's like doink, like it sounds like it flips open, and you have to like lock it back into place. Also,
do you guys have anything else?
Sanitary. I hate the idea of not being able to wash my wiener properly. It freaks me out. Anyway,
That's actually a good question, Worldmind. Did Spangle have sisters named Star and Banner?
Yeah, I'm sure that was, I guess, the clever reference. Shaft. So after spending an inordinate amount of time in the desert, doing very little, like almost nothing to advance the plot or develop any characters.
Fucking.
Right, yeah. Well, after that, they head to Frogtown. Well, and no, they fuck with each other a little bit.
Well,
they kick him out the car at one point, and then he has to chase after the car, and they're like clearly driving slow enough to be able to.
There's stuff. They keep driving. There's a contract he has to follow. He refuses. He throws it out the window. That's when they kick him out for that. I thought this was all very cartoony, and then as they drive off, he has to like catch up to them.
Yeah,
he runs after them. So it becomes a full cartoon at this point. And then they stop at a camp again. It's like a whole day has elapsed, and it's a new night.
They kick him out the car when the sun is setting, and then they drive far enough away that he won't blow up, but he has to run to catch up, and they're probably driving slow. Like you don't see this, but like you assume that they drove slow enough that he could catch up and not have his wiener blown out his butt. And and he gets back, and she's got the water waiting for him and stuff. And it's like it's supposed to be like a cutesy fun thing, and like
yeah, they're just kind of laying down the law and being like, "You're not in control here,"
controlling you
a little more.
My all-powerful earrings are what's in control here.
Well, and
camp, there is something nearby, and they go out to find out what it is. They find a fertile girl. They tie her up naturally and ask her where she's from. And when I saw this, I was like, is she unable to speak? But before they can find out, they sedate her. And then they make her have sex while she's knocked out, or they give her something makes her horny.
Yeah, they give her a pheromone or something.
Yes,
to make her more fertile.
Is this a porno?
It like piques her potency in terms of the ability to get pregnant, and even we're all uncomfortable as audience members being like, "You did what? You did what?" But they did it. They did it. And so she's kind of like writhing and horny. And then he comes out and he's like, no, I don't want to do that. But then he eventually is like, I have to. And he does. But then he this is the other thing where they're like, the movie really needs you to get on board with him. So like after it's happened, they wake up in the morning and he's stayed with her in bed and like dressed her and cleaned her up and everything.
Yeah.
So he
wash her, and Sandahl's like, no, man,
I didn't. He did it. Yeah.
You skipped over Spangle coming out and him being like, I'm not really
because I don't want to talk about it.
Right. and Spangle is like, I'm trained in seduction techniques, as you know, and she does
make
a little
horny while you
takes the clothes off again.
I didn't know we had to talk about another striptease that is leaving me flaccid.
But he's kind of nice about it. He's kind of like,
well, because he even tries to put yourself all at her. He's like, take your glasses off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tries to do the she's all that reveal of like, oh, you removed your glasses, now you're hot, I guess, kind of.
Except her glasses are so huge that when she takes them off, she looks exactly the same. It's like, oh yeah, those glasses are too big. It reveals a lot of your face.
It's a little like Arrested Development too, where he's like, put your glasses back.
He doesn't say that.
And I know, but that's
it's also like he kind of takes pity on just how unsexy she is, and he's like, all right, I guess I'll bone her anyway. I guess
now I have to say that I will fully point out that Sandahl Bergman smoking. Like,
oh, of course, yeah.
Her characterization is that she's like a nerd, like a nerd. but
Right.
she is
And
a
the
very
idea-
attractive woman from 80s cinema who plays a very sexy woman. But I
Yeah, I
thought it
mean,
was funny to do this
if
whole
you've seen
coming
Red
in.
Sonja, so like
Yeah.
I guess credit to her acting ability to come off as kind of like awkward and not really comfortable in her body. Because that it and the fact that it actually gets nude, I was thankful for, because I'm like, that would seem exploitative and it would seem like crossing a line, but it never happens. And you're like, oh, okay, well, again, it skirts that line of like, I'm uncomfortable, but they never cross the line.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I didn't really want to talk about it again, because we already did once, which is like
Yes.
every single time she does it, it's the same result, right? Which is like, you're not doing it, but like he gets what she's doing, right? And it's supposed to be him falling in love with her and her
Put your
falling in love
blouse
with
back
him, and like it's weak. It's very weak storytelling, but that's what the movie's trying to do. And then by the end, you get it, and like the end is kind of really gross, where he just has like a harem of women that he's gonna fuck later.
Yeah.
But like
We'll talk about that.
and
in
she's all there to watch, and she's like, once you're done, we can go on vacation and fuck all you want, but you
You
gotta fuck all
bang
these women.
all these folks first.
It's gross. It's such a gross thing, but it's
was a
clear.
part
That's how
where
you know it's written by a man. Like the
How is this
man
not-
wrote this.
I think harem animes were based off this film.
It was like Mad Max Fury Road if it was written by a guy who just doesn't get art.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like Mad Max Fury Road, except like somehow more horny. Like,
Written-
what?
Except
Just
written by
really-
Ben Shapiro. Which
Yeah, really focusing it on the that'll do pig element of it all.
weird little piece of trivia. The guy who did the score for this film, Ben Shapiro's dad.
No
way.
Yeah, look it up.
Oh,
Swear to God.
Jesus
Swear
Christ.
to God.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chef.
This is why this movie is why Ben Shapiro is the way that he is.
Yeah, David Shapiro was the composer for this film. He is the father of everyone's least favorite dry little wiener of a podcaster, Ben Shapiro.
Did you know
I
that
don't like
women
it-
are not actually supposed to be
don't
moist when
like it
you stick your
when-
frog dick inside of them? I did.
My wife gets wet. In fact, that's gross. Yuck. Icky.
Guess he just
Listen.
never saw Hell Comes to Frogtown, where everything is soaked.
I mean, is Roddy Piper supposed to be attractive in this movie? Because I don't find his supple breast nearly as compelling as I'd like it to be. But I mean, I guess by the end, you're kind of into it. You really want to, lay
He
your head
flexes
down.
his
in
muscles
his
at one point,
thigh.
and I could not help but look at them and see how moist his chest was.
I was thinking about taking his metallic diaper off with my teeth. Boing. All right, I hope that's true.
That is absolutely true.
thanks,
Ben, respond.
you coward.
Time we call
Look,
him out.
So the next
David-
morning, the girl is
David-
just fine. She's cuddling with Sam in his sleeping bag, and she now fully verbal tells them where Frogtown is. They have one of those
That-
like sci-fi moments with the binoculars, like it's just over there across the field and all, beyond the hill.
Mos
they give-
Eisley. I mean Frogtown.
The most wretched hive of scum and villainy.
And they
Everybody
give the
keep
girl
your
a-
dick flaps closed when you're in there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, when she shows up in her like weird little purple vinyl outfit or pink vinyl outfit, and all of a sudden is just like, "Hey guys, like let's go to Frogtown." I'm like, "What the fuck happened last night?" Like I thought she was completely feral. Like
I
it's-
assume
So did I. That's
I
the point I'm trying to make. I
I
thought
was
that
like,
she was
"What the
a
fuck?"
woods person who never
assume-
had
Well,
human
listen
contact.
to me for a moment.
I'm listening.
You're chased through the desert by psychopaths who drug you. You don't want to give up any information on where your people are, so you just don't talk to them. And then they drug you and make you horny, and then you fall in love with Roddy Piper, and then you have no clothes because all your clothes are rags that you pulled out of the fucking ass of a dead coyote or whatever. And they give you a little onesie to wear that is pink and branded with the brand of the government. I told you, the government runs everything. Everything's pink, and because the women own the government now, everything's pink. They gave her that. That's not hers. They gave it. It's in the trunk of the car, guys. There's 100 of them. They're this big. They're like
but why couldn't
those
she
boxes of gloves,
form-
the disposable gloves? They have like 1 million little onesies to give out.
She
the
couldn't
gown.
form any sentences. She couldn't like.
No, she was not talking. She was just doing this, like,
But she was like grunting and struggling.
yeah, because she doesn't want to talk. They're gonna
Feed her and give her some water.
Roddy Piper, the most disgusting man on earth. He's a rapist.
He probably smells like cum too, if I'm being honest.
Well,
They give the
they're
girl
for days. Nobody. I don't think anyone in this movie smells good.
no. They give her a tracker and say she's going to be picked up by the National Guard. They arrive at the mouth of Frogtown next, and Spangle is tied up by Piper to, I guess, trick the frogs into thinking that she is a slave girl. They go into Frogtown, and then when they go in, it's like a frog party, some sort of frog party with frog strippers and frog drunks.
How jarring was it for you guys to see that frog stripper for the first time?
Like, pretty
Reminded me
jarring.
of Warriors of Virtue. Like,
Yeah.
when I first saw it, I was like,
I'll be right back.
this reminds me of Warriors of Virtue. You know, like the kangaroo. I think we talked about it during Ants, actually, for like a brief moment.
Yeah.
And just the animatronic there was like slightly lacking, you know, where you're like, ooh, that's a rubber head on a person, but the eyes are real. And I don't like it. I don't like that the eyes are real. Give me some robotic eyes.
Uncanny valley where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, no, I don't
Especially
love
when every other frog person you meet is either like a Power Rangers you know, like henchman style, where it's just makeup on a human, or they have big crazy frog eyes that are blinking, or there's like some sort of weird contraption covering the eyes so they didn't have to animate it. It's like she's most disturbing because of her human eyes, where you're like, oh no, I don't like this.
Do you remember the Animorphs books?
Yes.
It's like 2/3 up the Animorph, where you're just like,
in between,
and the person.
She didn't quite make it to full frog form. Yeah, she's halfway there. I used to just because Jason's gone, I'll tell the story. On New Year's Day, I was like coming off of the night or whatever, and I was on TikTok, and I kept going into TikTok lives, and I was going through and being like, anybody got any good New Year's resolutions through all these TikTok lives? And they'd be like, you know, I don't know. And then I would start being like, you should start replacing the word morph with anamorph. And sometimes people would get it, and sometimes people would think it was the most weird thing they've ever heard. But I think it's hilarious.
Guys, it's called a middle morph. That's my takeaway.
Morph.
Okay,
like,
a
middle morph. That weird in between photo on the Animorphs book covers. Those are middle morphs.
She's maybe she's a little bit past the middle, or she started morphing into the animal too quickly, so she's like
72%
full werewolf frog mode.
Anteater face, but human body.
And I love as they enter the Frogtown bar during the montage of all the characters and patrons. There is actually a Frog Prince reference. Someone's sitting at the bar reading a children's book of the Frog Prince, which
once
this
you become
movie
a
is
frog, all you can do is
it's the most famous book in Frogtown.
Like,
we all aspire to be the Frog Prince.
Kind of on the nose, where it's kiss the frog and it becomes a prince and you win. It's like, no, now you got a weird beefcake running around trying to avoid being kissed by frog princesses.
I never wrote her name down. I wrote frog stripper the whole time, and I like looking at I don't know, what was her even name? Briefing officer? No. Arabella?
Briefing officer? No, it was Arabella.
It was Arabella. Okay.
Yes. Well, because she's introduced just slightly before my favorite character in this film.
You guys were both more polite than me. I wrote down frog woman.
I wrote blonde for Spangle for my whole notes, so I wasn't that polite. Piper gets a drink.
It shows that you have more politeness for frog women than real women, Jason. That says a lot about you.
Frog stripper versus blonde.
Yeah.
Piper takes.
At least you added her profession.
Yeah, you couldn't even get to blonde scientist.
No.
Just put blonde.
Oof.
Yeah.
Sam takes a sip. He gets a beer. He takes a sip of it. He realizes that it is actually waste.
Toxic waste.
And that's when we get the cross-eyed spit take moment, which I thought was funny, but I was like, this is pure comedy.
This is the
but he
moment that I
plays it so
realized that
well.
like these guys are making a movie for nobody. This is when I realized that they're making a movie for no one.
Like,
They don't know what they're doing.
Sometimes you can just tell they're trying to amuse themselves or each other, where you're just like, okay, he's just desperately trying to make one person on set laugh because it's not funny.
The boom mic guy's shitting himself because he crossed his eyes when he spat out the toxic waste drink, and you're like,
it's the most professional wrestling thing though. Like that's Roddy Piper in this movie is just doing a fucking promo the whole time. He's just in wrestler mode the whole time.
He's projecting to the cheap seats. He's really hamming it up.
And he meets his buddy Looney or Lonnie, or in the credits.
They call me Looney Tunes because I'm fucking crazy.
And you're like,
played by the
Rory Calhoun.
Rory Calhoun.
Rory Calhoun.
Just a legendary character actor.
Yeah, he's like one of those sort of they got him on for like Hollywood silver screen clout. They're like, we got Rory Calhoun in this one. We could put him on a poster.
Like, you got Rory Calhoun. What did you do? Pay him in whiskey?
They're like, no, we didn't even pay him in whiskey.
They paid him in nuclear waste.
We told him that nuclear waste was whiskey, and he drank it. And he did get drunk. Also, he died. He died after this movie.
This was his fourth last movie, and his third last movie was by the same director, a sequel to Rollerblade Warriors.
Oh wow!
Oh, how the mighty have fallen!
But you know what though, like I said about most of the performances in this movie are like they're fine. Like his performance is fine. He's not like doing a bad job. You know, he's doing exactly what he's there to do, and he's doing a competent job. Like the world, as hacky and corny as it is, is believable because of their performances, and he's one of the reasons that I'm like, I buy that Frogtown exists.
Oh yeah, no, he's got one of my favorite line reads of the whole film, which we'll get to in a bit. But my second favorite line read of the whole film comes shortly after this. After it's when Bull is introduced, but before that, we have to get to the meeting with the middleman.
What's his name again? His name's like
Leroy.
Leroy, yeah.
The guy, he has the little goggles and
I was going to say Franklin for some reason, but I think that I was just thinking of like the turtle Franklin from, remember those like Franklin books and the TV show?
Yeah. Yeah. I was writing down like Toady as that character's name, but then it's revealed that Toady is like the big boss. Right. Just to get us back on track, Looney is after the uranium. He's there to like get it and sell it back, which is kind of like a subplot in this film where like this factory is on top of a bunch of uranium, and that's where Arabella comes up and basically says, I love you. Obviously Sam takes that the wrong way. No. I love you is the code word.
She says that to the blonde scientist, as you say.
The blonde scientist. Okay.
Yeah. And then funny bit, Roddy says like, you want to explain something, like, because he's like, that's funny that she came and said that, and she's like, and then she says in the craziest tone and volume, she just explains the whole plot like to us, but she's like yelling it in the middle of the bar, being like, no, that's the code word. The code word is I love you, and she's our contact in here, and you're like, oh my god, why are you yelling it so much? You should whisper. You should get a real tight close-up of the lips to the ear, you know, like that's what George Miller would do. He'd get like a really tight, uncomfortable close-up of the ear, whispering. You'd see the hairs on his face moving. But
that'll do, Frog.
She just yells.
Yeah. They meet with the frogman in the suit.
Didn't George Miller direct The Second Babe? He did.
He did.
Yeah, that'll do, pig is a George Miller line.
Yeah.
He didn't direct the first one, did he?
No.
I think he did.
No, he didn't.
No.
Is that'll do, pig from the second one then?
It's from the first one.
Oh, so that'll do, pig is not a George Miller.
George Miller made the weird horny Pig in the City where he goes and yeah.
Also, Happy Feet about the dancing penguins. That was a George Miller film as well.
Yeah, George Miller loves post-apocalyptic wastelands and weird animal movies.
Boner alert.
I'm sorry. It was off.
I don't even know what that was in retort to.
I don't either. I want it. I like all of it. The whole thing.
I feel like that was a slide whistle, Jason. I'm coming at you. Coming at you with the slide whistle.
What are we doing?
I'm not gonna... You fucker. You slide whistle with Shaft. Okay, anyway, they meet the frogman in his suit. He gives him actual beer, which he drinks it. He's about to spit it out.
This is real beer. And it turns out it's only slightly irradiated.
Yeah, but it's like as he's finishing the last gulp of it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you'd probably be like, whatever. Like I'm not gonna barf it up.
They discuss the fact that the humans pushed the frogs into basically a reservation on an abandoned factory for abandoned waste materials,
which probably just made them stronger, because there was talk about Toady, the big bad. They wanted him to have 4 arms, but they only had the budget for 2.
4 arms and 3 dicks.
So they wanted him to be like a Goro, hyper irradiated, over mutated beast,
super mutant. Yeah,
but they could not afford it, sadly.
I mean, 3 dicks is fine enough. I mean, maybe they were like 4 arms and like, we can't do 4 arms. And he's like, what if we have 3 dicks? And they're like, we can't show 3 dicks. And he's like, what if there's snakes underneath his clothes? I'm like, yeah, we could do that.
All right.
No problem.
So yeah, they meet and you find out that like Arabella is kind of a Princess Leia type character. She's against Toady and against the frog establishment. And then you meet his right-hand man,
Bull, who comes in and he's just real mad right out of the gate because they're doing a slave trade in the bar, which is like,
you know that you can't do slave trades in here.
And you're like, what is happening? But like, where do you do it? I wasn't paying too much attention.
And one of the greatest line reads of this entire film, possibly the high point for me, is "Shut your hole."
My favorite part is after the exchange is complete, he goes,
"Everyone back to work."
But like they're in a bar.
We're in a bar.
What the fuck? The strippers are
also
like,
the trade is for 5 lilies. They never explain if that's the currency.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just imagining 5 lily pads. But why would lily pads be rare? After all of what you're saying,
probably just a code for something weird, like
$500, $5,000, $5 million. I think 5 lilies would be $5 million in this case.
I would say 100. I think a lily would be 100.
Yeah, but the fact that they never feel the need to elaborate on what this society uses for currency, I think it does something about the script and the world building where they're just like, don't worry, whatever. It's a number and it's a unit of value. Move on.
Yeah, lilies,
how much did Rory Calhoun pay for that bowl of cottage cheese with green food coloring in it? Like, I want to know how much was that? How many lilies was that? Yeah.
Because you can buy a person for 5. What's a bowl of gruel?
Those are 40 sublilies.
40 sublilies. Oh.
Here's my stream of consciousness notes. He doesn't want a sex slave. He wants a new erotic dancer. Another frog doesn't like it that they did have a private barter. Deal canceled. New auction. 5 lilies. They knock out Sandahl.
Those are your notes from what happened in the scene?
Yeah, from the scene that we were just talking about.
we just talked about the scene, and that most of that is inaccurate, but some of it was
not. Most of it was accurate. Anyway, he wakes up to a frog lady, the frog lady, Annabella, telling him she loves him, and she's sworn to fight to the death. I guess Big Toad, Big Frog. What's the frog's name? Who has
Bull.
Bull has Spangle at this point. Annabella tries to bang Sam. It's uncomfortable. His belt is about to go as Spangle flees. He finds her with the mutants. They talk about eating her. Sam falls down to them, and they take her away. Looney catches up to them, and the frog stripper, the Annabella. Spangle wakes up in the freaky harem of women, of actual human women. They're doing some sort of ritual. I guess it's like a horniness ritual is what I sort of thought.
Yeah, they're trying to heat her up because frogs are cold-blooded.
Listen, guys,
She
this is
doesn't
the
want-
exact same thing that she did to the wild woman. They're doing it to her. Don't you understand cinema? I'm just kidding. They're doing the same thing to her.
Say, oh, we
I'm an idiot.
Go in cold because the other women have gone in cold and he hasn't been aroused by them. And I think that's a reference to them being cold-blooded in that she actually has to be hot.
Well, I thought the way I looked at it is that they're doing the same thing to her in a more natural sense, where that she took the woman from the desert and injected her with drugs to make her horny for Sam Hell. They're doing the same thing to her to make her warmed up and ready for him, right? Like she's now having the same thing placed upon her that she was doing to the woman from the desert. And but she has a little bit more agency here, where she's like, fuck no. Like, what the heck are you talking about? She's not being drugged, she's being like prepped to be like, no, you have to make it really sexy or he'll fucking kill you. You don't
right. But then they're like, oh, but you're super into this. Like, that's nice. Okay, cool.
But then she
do
also
that
tells,
again.
She also tells them that she's there to save them and help them.
Yeah. And they are very much like sort of the brides from the the Fury Road movie.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure George Miller saw this and he was just like, this is great. Frogtown. We're doing Frogtown again, but we're gonna have a really long car chase in the middle. It's gonna happen.
That everybody will remember for all time.
Imagine George Miller's Hell Comes to Frogtown, and he just like adds the Frogtown lore to the Mad Max lore. Like it's just
I'm gonna dream about it.
I mean, they could absolutely be happening simultaneously.
Oh my god, they could.
That stands to reason.
That's
right?
true. In America, everybody became a frog. In Australia,
Mad Max
everybody's
comes to Frogtown.
Fuck yeah.
They just haven't encountered the frog people of the United States yet.
They drove across the fucking salt desert and they got to America, and that's where all the frogs live.
Maybe every country has a different irradiated anthropomorphic animal.
Yeah.
It's like
the King of England is like a crazy otter. He's like,
yeah. And so now that we're in Frogtown and we are around all of these frogs, this is when everything gets wet, and not in a sad way. For the rest of the film, everything just has a sheen of water at all times. All I could think was, imagine being the PA whose job it was to spray down everyone with water.
So when
we get bigger squirt bottles,
when Sam is captured, Bull tries to use a chainsaw on Sam. He pulls out a chainsaw.
Yeah.
It cuts back over to the harem with Spangle, but Sam is trying to tell Bull that the belt is wired to blow.
Yeah.
And then the chainsaw just gives out. And
no, it gets locked, and then he pulls it up, and there's a chunk of the underwear on it, and he's like, "Oh, I guess she was lying," and then it blows up in his face, and it's like,
no. But this is before that. This is before that.
What are you doing? And he goes, to get
I have to get more gas.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, I forgot about that. He needs to refill his chain. He didn't check his chainsaw before he started torturing. Good Lord.
No.
Amateur.
Even at an hour and 26 minutes, this movie is bad for time.
Yeah. But simultaneously, like on the other side with the harem, the earring gets glazed, and Sam starts getting zapped repeatedly, which I thought was really funny. And then also Looney and and Annabella are like discussing saving Sam.
Right. Yeah.
And then Bull continues to work on the belt and it comes off, and that's what you were saying, Steve.
Yeah, pow.
He throws it at him and it explodes in his face.
But also, and this is the line read that I was referring to, was that Arabella gives Looney Tunes a big smooch. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna go save him," and she gives him a smooch, and he says, "Cussin' sentimental reptile," and it's just like, to me, I was just like, that encapsulates his character, and it says a lot about him that he's just like, "Ugh, cussing sentimental reptile," and he just like runs off to save it. I'm like, that might have been the most charming the moment in the movie for me, was Rory Calhoun's line read with this like weird.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
like the equivalent of like in an Old West movie, like a young woman kissing an old man and him being
Exactly.
like, "Gosh darn it, I'm too old for this
To me,
shenanigans."
It was the most honest line read. It was the most believable line read in a movie of otherwise just really hard to believe shit.
I mean, his reaction shots in this movie are great. Like, it's mostly just him like doing a goofy smile, like slightly off the lens, kind of like reaction shots of him just reacting to everything around him. And I'm like, does he know? Did they just say like, do a fun smile? And he's like full of green dye in his teeth as he's like shoveling fucking cottage cheese in his mouth. And you're like,
yeah. Rory Calhoun, absolutely charming, really like shines.
Oh, you're going to say more, but yes, I agree.
No,
I agree. Yeah,
but
Spangle tries
my notes. The I owe you one. So after the explosion, we get a little bit of Roddy Piper's physicality. Finally, like a pro wrestler in a movie where he doesn't get into one like physical fight for the first hour of the film.
Yeah,
was frustrating.
Especially when it's only an hour and 26 movies or minutes long. Where you're
exactly.
Like, holy
yeah.
I almost said 126 movies long.
126. This movie is 126 movies long.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
That's what it feels like at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, after the cod piece blows up in Bull's face, we do get, Arabella lets him go. And that was another funny reference to earlier in the film when he makes her put a burlap sack over her head. And he says, she unlocks cuffs and he goes, "I owe you one." And she goes to start putting on the bag. And he's like, "No, not now."
There's also a little moment later, like we're probably going to gloss over it. So I just wanted to mention it because of that sequence. Later, she pulls the bag up like, "Oh, do I put it on now?" Like for a split second. I thought that was extremely funny.
Well, yeah, because he goes, "I owe you one," and she goes like she pulls the bag up to put it on, as in like, "Oh, well, if you owe me one, I want you to bone me." And he's like, "No, not now."
Maybe later.
Which like that was one of the like, I got a chuckle out of that. You know, I thought it was a good moment.
Spangle tries to fight back. She gets taken. Arabella saves Sam and gets stabbed. Sam takes out Bull and looks for vengeance. Spangle is taken to the leader and told to dance or die. She utilizes her ability to dance again. Super awkward.
But it's like, I like this because like she starts doing her stupid signature seduction technique, which has never worked. And then they start to like her memory, which happened 5 fucking seconds ago in the movie, where it's like, we don't need an echoey voice telling you that, you could just realize it. But you hear the voice come in that says like, "Remember to just go loosey goosey, you know, feel it in your bones." And she starts to like dance for real. And that's what activates the 3 serpents in his
The 3 serpents. Ooh. I wrote Frogman is horny.
I said, "Welcome to horny Frogtown."
Yeah, 3 dicks.
Yeah. That's why on the thing I wrote 3 serpents, unheard of.
And she goes, "I've come up with a few more steps," and then proceeds to kick him in all 3 of his dicks.
All 3 of his dicks.
While
this is happening,
the thing is though, like if you get kicked in the dick, it doesn't hurt. The balls. You gotta hit the balls, man.
Does he have 6 balls then?
I mean, the dick will hurt.
That was my follow-up question. But yeah,
my dick can take a lot of punishment. I don't know, my balls though, weak as hell. Very weak.
So yeah, after she does that, we have the closest thing to a
Hold on, what the theory?
what's his theory? He has
six balls. Yeah.
Oh, he has 6 balls. Okay, yeah.
I think we can confirm that. No,
I thought it was just one big ball. No?
Yeah.
and so we know
By the way that I'm laughing that hard.
In They Live, Rowdy Piper has, the iconic line, "I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." We don't have quite as good of a line in this film. Lead froggies doesn't quite have the ring to it.
No.
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't
But he
hear
for
it.
sure, he kicks down a door and says, "Eat lead froggies."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, it comes in 2 shotguns, and you think, "Oh, this is going to be badass." Let's hear the quip.
And then he hits one of them in the head with a coconut, and then punches him through a wall.
Yep.
That's a reference to WWF.
Oh my god. Yeah. So.
Oh, I found the sound effect for when he gets kicked in the balls. Hold on, because it's one giant ball bag. They hit it and it goes, and then all the snakes go limp after that.
This is the most professional episode you've ever recorded.
Are you kidding
I think
me?
so. I think so.
Looney fires off a flare, gets.
He's just loading them though. He's like, and he's like shooting a ton of them, and I'm like, this is kind of great. Yeah,
he
got
gets
a great
Sentinella's attention.
I've been shooting flares since before the Dodgers disbanded.
Yeah, which I was like,
about as close to world building as it gets.
Yeah, where you're like probably like a year after the war ended, like the nukes went off. They're like, we can't sustain it anymore. Baseball's not a realistic profession.
It's a bunch of baseball players with missing limbs and shit.
Or it's a bunch of women and no one's watching it.
We can call it a day.
I'm just joking.
And there's a bit we already talked about. Sam busts in, and as Spangle kicks Frogman in the balls into his frog dick. I wrote frog dick. And there's a shootout. Sam goes to Spangle, and they almost kiss.
They almost kiss. They
prepare to escape and see that the Greeners have guns. Spangle is a decoy and beats their asses. And as they're escaping,
this is kind of a good moment because he's got 2. Yeah. They both have a shotgun, and then she hands him one of the shotguns. And he's like, all right, you take care of it, I guess. And then he's got both of them. And she does like a crazy overact where she's like spinning and rolling against the wall and like, and like making crazy faces and breathing wildly. And then she goes up, and then what does she say? She says like, the 3 serpents or something, and then like kicks one in the nuts and then just roundhouse kicks the other one in the face. And you're like, okay, that's good. That was a good moment, like I kind of like that. But
I agree with that.
That one moment, there should be more moments like that. That outweighs eat lead froggies to like a whole other degree, and it makes you like her more. I think that her character is maybe a little bit more interesting than his, but they're both sort of boring. I think this is the other thing, is like they're both kind of boring, but like together the story is a little bit more interesting because it is working towards this weird thing where you're like, they both clearly like each other, like almost from the beginning, like there's like this weird sort of kinship between them, which works maybe. I don't know, man. The movie's bad, but like it works. Like it works as like a movie.
That's kind of the thing about this movie. Like it like on paper, it's dog shit. Yeah. But when you're watching it and you're going through all of these segments of the film, everything works in this unique way where as a movie as a whole, it is a great unifier of thought.
I think that when we come to this conclusion like this, where it's like when a movie is dog shit, but when you think about it, it elevates a little bit. We should call it guano, because guano is edible. It's edible shit.
Right.
So like
it's
dog shit you shouldn't eat, but guano you can. Yeah.
Right. No.
What's that thing? What's that thing of when like you feed coffee beans to like a donkey in the Himalayan mountains?
Listen, man, nobody knows about your weird fetishes. We're just talking about guano.
No fetish.
Know exactly what this is.
Yes, Pat, you know that's what it is. You feed this.
I thought it was like a cat, wasn't it? A cat that
it's called Kobe Luwak.
Yeah, Kobe Luwak.
It's a cat, though, isn't it?
I thought it was a goat or
I
something.
thought it was a cat, a tree cat.
A tree cat.
Yeah.
Dropping.
Pat, save us.
From a binturong, which is more closely related to a raccoon.
Oh, so a cat, a tree cat.
Okay, so like a tree cat. Yeah, there you go, Steve. You beat me. Not a tree dog, not a tree goat, but a tree cat.
Yeah.
Centrella shows up and asks if they're going to eat lead or dirt. So she shows up from the outside. Like,
yeah, we get a couple putties that dive for the dirt.
Yeah,
I call them putties from now on.
I really love, Steve, that you're calling them that, because the lesser frogs are really dressed up to look like putties. They have the same mouth.
They're weird. They don't have a nose. They don't have an expressive face.
Yeah, they just look like humans with like a couple prosthetics that are glued on, and then they're like, we need to wrap their head. Like when I first was like, what's with these costumes? I'm like, after a couple of times seeing them, I'm like, oh, that was the easiest way to not have to do more than like this amount of makeup. You know, they just need to wrap their heads up.
Yeah. Well, and early on, I mean, with the dressed like sand people, like anything they could do to minimize the special effects budget, they did. Because they had like the 3 actual frog suits, and then after that, they were just like, everyone gets a mask and way too much clothes.
I like the sand people look from that opening shot, though. I was kind of hoping for more of that shit, you know? Like,
with the goggles and everything.
And just them being like, you know, like, come on, give me more. Give me more of that.
None of the other frogs rip it.
None of them. Not a single one. We got Bull, who's just, you know, yelling about slavery, and then Leon, who's like, I also like slavery, but, you know, in a better way. And then you got Toady, who's just got his 3 dicks, and he loves slaves too. They're all bad.
After Cinderella shows up and lays down that great line, eat lead or eat dirt, Looney creates a distraction with a flare gun, and they escape. And they save Looney as well, or so we think. We'll get
the harem does. They drag him out. The harem. They're all pacifists, by the way, in case you guys are following along with the movie. They are all pacifists, which means they hate fighting for some reason, which is probably how they ended up in this wacky situation to begin with.
Yeah. How did we get kidnapped? I don't know. Maybe you didn't fight back.
Yeah, you didn't kick anybody in their giant singular ball sack.
Or 3 snakes.
Yeah.
Now, you're in a target-rich environment, okay?
I do like, so this is one of the moments where I'm like, is the costume design in this movie like fucking great? Because like
it's very good.
I kind of like it. And
really
like
good.
This was probably a discussion for production talk, but like I love Rory Calhoun's outfit. Like he's
big time.
Everything about him just like
thank you, Timely and XPT.
It tells so much of a story about who he is. Like we know that he's a uranium diving weirdo, but like he's got like this crazy hat with a light on it, and he's got like denim clothes with vests over it, and all this layered clothing where you're like, everything he's wearing has a purpose. And I feel the same way about most of the characters in this. And even when you get to the harem, where it's like they've been dressed to look like Princess Jasmine in Aladdin or something, right? Like
they've all got like pastel colors, so it's very easy to like kind of tell them apart, or it makes for a nice frame because they all have like solid primary colors. You're like, okay, like the production design wasn't asleep at the wheel.
But they're also cutting corners where they need to, like only doing this much face makeup and then being like, put some sort of hat on them that makes them look, you know, vaguely exotic. And you're like, oh, okay, now it just feels racist. Whoopsies. But, you know, like it's not, you know. The other thing is like, I have this major question that I haven't asked yet, which is like, did they evolve? Were they humans that turned into frog people, or were they frogs that turned into human?
I think that there were humans that got mixed with frog DNA.
Or is it?
mutate.
I didn't get to finish. Or is it a mix of both? Are the ones that look like frogs the frogs that turned into these things, and the ones that are like half mostly human are the ones that are like they were humans that got turned into frogs?
I do not.
Or
think
are they the
that
result of
there
an
were
offspring
frogs,
of a frog fucking a human that like became that? You know?
because
I
they're
think
all
you're asking
anthropomorphic.
more questions than the actual writer did.
Yeah.
But there's so many different versions that you're like, it could be the answer could be all three. You know, like could
I don't
be
know.
all three.
It's like Toady seems like he could be a frog that became like humanoid.
But why does he have
but
snake dick? Like snakes and frogs are
nobody's ever going to know the answer to that. Nobody. Not a single person will ever know the answer to that question.
Mhm.
But if I had to answer that question personally, I think that they got mutated, much like the ghouls in Fallout, to become frogs instead of ghouls. Theories. Yeah.
I'm gonna say they didn't think about it at all. They just like wanted to have, because it's only been 10 years. Like, that's the other thing, you know.
Here's a question that I have to ask you guys. Why frogs? Why frogs in the first place?
They're in a desert, for starters.
Yeah.
Although I guess after a nuclear war, everything's a desert.
Yeah.
I mean, probably it's like the horse before the cart situation where they thought Frogtown sounded like a good name. They're like, oh, what if they're all frogs in there?
Or
But on paper, when you
They're like, welcome to
Hyena
Town doesn't sound as good. Let's do.
This is
Welcome
my
to
biggest problem with the film in the first place. The fact that it's called Hell Comes to Frogtown. It's Sam Hell Comes to Frogtown. That part makes sense. But Frogtown literally seems like they came up with the name and wrote backwards from that.
That's what I just said. Yeah, of course. That's exactly what it was. They just wanted to have a teenage mutant Ninja Turtle style thing where it's like a bunch of frog people, right? It doesn't really matter, but at the same time, like it's fun to think about, right? Like, why are they there? Why are they mutated? How are they all different? Why isn't there like a standardization? I guess mutation doesn't really make sense in any degree of this, you know, like the Ninja Turtles don't make any sense, but we love them. So like maybe Frogtown will work. And I'm gonna say Frogtown kind of works.
Bit of an allegory for like indigenous people being pushed back to their land too, right? Like that's.
I think they even mentioned that we got stuffed on these reserves at some point.
Yeah,
didn't
they do. Yeah. They literally do. And the places where they got stuck were the worst places uninhabitable by humans.
They're like, you guys can live in there, we can't. So, but then there's like so many humans just living in there.
Yeah, but it's like a toxic. It's a toxic waste factory that is also on top of a uranium pile. It's a double uranium down there. Yeah. Uranium fever.
I still got all my teeth. He's like chomping down on his fucking cottage cheese.
With a Geiger counter in my hand, I'm going.
Sorry, we're both stomping over Patty. He keeps trying to talk.
Well, no, you guys are riffing a whole new movie, and I'm here for it. Oh, like Frogtown the musical,
right?
Let's
frog comes the trolley. Frog comes the down.
Well, a part of me felt like humanity kind of had it coming. Throughout the entire movie, you find out they stuck them on reserves. They had all these horrible, like, xenophobic names for them. They wouldn't allow them to have guns or, like, simple rights. And you're like, oh, yeah, no fucking wonder. Like, humanity's like, why do we keep having wars? Also, live in the uranium mine and shut up.
Xenophobic. Yeah, it's terrible. I think that any movie where humanity is being oppressed by mutants, humanity absolutely deserves it no matter what. Like, there's nothing you can say or do to make us believe that all of humanity was on board with this mutated race of people that showed up, you know? Oh my God. Refreshing things I've seen in a while. You've got a really natural way of keeping things fun and engaging, and it felt like hanging out with good friends. I'm genuinely looking forward to see how your content evolves. Keep doing your thing. It's seriously inspiring.
Thank you.
That's from... I thought that was from Hey, did you see this? And I'm like, Jason.
No, the person that was in here earlier, they private DM'd me They wanted to
sick.
say this, and I would like to thank you, Tim. That's a very nice thing to say to us. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Maybe if they private DM'd you, they didn't want it sent out to the world like that.
Hey, listen, we need this, okay?
Yeah.
I need this. I need this.
Jason doesn't understand boundaries.
That's true.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of this.
We are
harrowing.
They
tale
drive
of,
off. They drive off, but the frogs have a Jeep that's kind of a tank. In the
This is
inside the
inspiration
car.
for Mad Max Fury Road.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get a high-speed chase through the desert. That was literally a Mad Max moment, but Looney is bleeding and dying, and then he dies.
Which I'm
the
like, did he
frog-
get shot in the back of the head? Like,
I
what
don't know.
happened to him?
They literally pull the hand down, and there's blood all over the hand. So
Yeah. So maybe he hit his head really hard, and he's like,
Yeah.
I've been hitting the head so many goddamn times. This is the last time.
Died of an
Oh."
aneurysm.
Yeah.
the frog Jeep has rockets.
I
They have a
guess.
high-speed pursuit and shootout. They get stopped by a man with a rocket launcher, and he tells them to drop their weapons. But it's the jerk from the start. What's his name? Corporal
Dildo.
Captain Devlin.
Who's
Captain
apparently
Devlin.
guns to the frog people who weren't allowed to have
Yeah.
guns because they mentioned that during the scene with Leroy.
Yeah, but he's
And this
also
is-
like
this is-
selling the uranium. He's taking the uranium and selling
make
it
a
to
nuclear
scientists.
bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. His like when he says long-winded fuck, it's like you're damn right. And also his long-winded rant doesn't explain anything properly. I'm like, what? Who are you?
Hold on a second. So this Tim fellow, Timulin XPT is still here. You got Discord? We do have Discord. Hated to see this one on Discord, and also hated to see this one wherever you get your podcasts. Just follow us, and we'll talk. Keep DMing me. He's also. They are also saying you're welcome. You have a truly warm and welcoming presence. Do you stream consistently? We do stream consistently every Thursday night right here on Twitch. Thank you for saying all the nice things you've said. You're a very good contributor to this. Oh, I called and said, what's Pat's link? You're a very good contributor. I appreciate that. Tim, I'll message you offline. But I called and what's your link?
Well, you know what?
Also, hi.
On the Discord. I'll be on the Discord. I've been trying to move away from social media. I do have a Twitch stream that I've been meaning to get back into consistently, the Eldritch Abbot, and I'll post it in the chat a little bit later before we end up. So yeah, you can find me on Twitch and you can find me on the HC this one Discord.
Also, stick around for our plugs. I just want to get this part out.
We're at the ultimate battle.
Devlin wants to keep the women of the world limited because he wants control. And also he's doing a deal with the frogs for the uranium. Then he gives it to the scientists and he will have nukes to wipe out the slate clean. Sam has a sword on his back. One of the harem ladies passes it to
Let's
Sam.
just talk about the scene.
and he
We don't need
tosses
to
it.
go through it all. This is crazy that you do this every time.
Well, no,
We
I'm
need-
just
like we know. We can talk about it. We
no,
don't
I'm
need
just,
to-
I'm just getting
go
us caught
through
up
it.
to where the film is at. I'm just elated.
But we were
by the
naturally getting there.
outpouring
We don't need to
of-
pause it
Because,
all
yeah.
and talk. Like, let's talk about it. So, again, like I said earlier in the movie, when he shows up,
the
again,
entire time Devlin's got a rocket launcher pointed at them.
yeah,
So like he's not just bloviating on a rock. He's got a fucking rocket launcher
Yeah.
pointed at them,
but he
ready to blow them
when he
up.
first
He's
shows
doing
up,
the
he
stealth
kind of sounds
alarm.
like Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi when she was like, "Yate, yato," and then she's like, "You're suffering from hibernation sickness." Like he has that sort of like voice modulation, but you can still hear that sort of weird accent that he has, where he's like, "I hate you." Where you're like, it's gonna be him, right? Like, who else is it gonna be? When he pulls it off, not shocked, but also like
I'll be right back.
he's
You're like, where was he the entire movie?
exactly. He's been gone so long in the movie, that we don't really need this. It's almost like this entire thing is just there to put a rocket launcher in the hands of Roddy Piper.
That is exactly the reason why.
There's no other reason.
It was just a convoluted way for him. And I do love the oldest trick in the book when he's trying to convince the woman from the harem to be like, the sword on my back, like, hand it to me.
Yeah.
I'm a passive.
I don't want to. Yeah.
All you gotta do is move the sword 3 inches. And she does eventually.
Yeah.
And he fucking throws it. And they just do the camera whip pan. And he's,
Which I love a good camera whip pan. And it is a good camera whip pan. Like, it's not a bad one. Like, even the back end of the blade is like, like, as it's going through, he's like, oh, you know, like,
it had a little bit of force to it. You know, it was a good throw. It was a
and it goes all the way hilt to the chest through. Like, it's all the way in there.
Yeah.
When he finds it later, it's out. You're like, oh god, he got it.
He would have had to pull it all the way through him.
Yeah. Multiple hand motions to get it out. Like,
he's like cutting his hands on the blade. Like, fuck.
But like, that's the only reason I can see, because there's no reason for that character to come back, and there's no really no reason for that character to exist in the first place, right?
Well, and I think Jason mentioned it earlier, is that like they do tie up all the plot points that they put out there, and that was one of them, of like, who's selling guns to the frog people, and like, why are they mining uranium? And,
but those plot points don't matter to the story, right?
No,
like, there's
not at all.
There's nothing there that really matters. Like, it's okay to have those things flying out in all directions and have them be loose, because this is a world of frog people that exist outside of the sex world of humans that are just trying to reproduce. It doesn't really matter.
But I feel like in their mind, though, it was their way of just being like, no, we tied it up with a nice bow, like we nailed it.
Super clever. Everything has been solved now. Even the creep from the beginning.
Script.
Yeah.
What a tight script.
Like, has he just been following them around the whole time? Like, because he does show up at one point, right? Like, in the middle of the, like, he's like, meh, meh. Like, doesn't he show up at one point? Like,
very briefly.
Yeah.
I didn't have a note about it. So
I remember when he showed up, I was like, who the fuck's this? And then he shows up in the desert later, and I'm like, oh, I think I remember now. It's that guy, the weird faced man.
I think I assumed that it was another frog person dressed up in their like.
That's gear. Because they showed the guy at the beginning, right? Where you're like,
so it was a little misleading in that respect.
You know what would have been really fucking cool?
What
is if it was revealed that he was a frog person, but like secretly a frog person? That would have been sick.
He's just got a weird snake dick.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, and he like takes his pants down. He's got one giant ball sack, and you're like, oh my! And he throws the sword through it. He's like,
Lord.
Yeah.
And then so we get to the big fight with Lord Toady or whatever. And I need to point out that this area where they filmed this, the rocks in the desert area, is apparently the same location where Captain Kirk fought the Gorn in the original Star Trek, which is
Vasquez Rocks, I think. Yeah, it's
Vasquez Rocks. Yeah, so which I think they weren't allowed to use it as a location much after that. I think it became a national park or something. So this was one of the last
treasure. They're like, too many Star Treks have been filmed here. We're not allowed to do it anymore.
Too many fights with weird reptile monsters.
It's like, stop bringing your toad monsters here.
Just
get out of here. Died here. Don't you know that Gorns died here? I just think that, like, it's so strange to have a villain who hasn't really been a villain the entire time. A villain who shows up, who hasn't really been a villain the entire time, to show up and then die, and then go back to your other villain who was like the one chasing you the whole time, and then that one die immediately. Like, there's no repercussions. There's no tension really. No. It's just he just kills the two bad guys like
pretty handily,
sequentially. Like quickly and handily.
It's not much of a confrontation. I think they spend more time.
I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. It's the weakest part of the movie. The end is the weakest part of the movie until he's like, jeez, I gotta fuck all these women. And you're like,
I just wanted to go on vacation. I guess a soldier's work is never done, he says.
I know you guys like kind of got to the end. I've been listening. But here's my stream of consciousness. Here's how I get to the end of the movie. Gets word and gun, and is going to finish it. He's not quite dead though. Tries to get the rocket launcher, but gets shot. Sam takes the rocket and they start shooting. The truck has been destroyed. Sam gets them. The cronies run. The rocket jams. And they fight on the edge of a cliff. Feels a bit Star Trek. Sam gets the upper hand and knocks him off the cliff. Not before Toady hanging on first, though, because he hangs onto his legs at the end. He thinks the girls are dead, but they hid it, and then they emerge, and Sam and Spangle fight and kiss and fight.
Fight and kiss and fight in that order,
yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's dynamic.
That's pretty much like the ending of the movie. I think you guys covered it as well.
I mean, there's moments in it, and we did kind of gloss over. I really liked Rory Calhoun's last words because he's surrounded by the harem, and he goes, "I hope heaven's as good as this."
Yeah, and I also, in that moment, I also felt that way. I was like, obviously, when he's laying there with all these like large-breasted women in 90s sitting around him. The way that he dies is literally in heaven. Is this whole movie an allegory for heaven, for like a strong man, you know, like for like a strong red-blooded cisgendered man? Like, is that kind of what the outcome is for?
No,
Steve, I don't know if you can relate.
I can't relate. Oh, that's homophobic, Jason.
Why is it homophobic? I
don't know. I was in the bathroom. I didn't know what you said. So I just got.
I didn't say anything homophobic. I was just sort of like implying that this is a very like men ending.
I think it's also sort of like in a way making fun of the idea of that.
I agree with that.
Well, men are the villain. Like the main villain is a hyper misogynistic, like men should own the world kind of guy, and Sam Hell is like, nah, man. Like I just want to, I want women to want me, and there's a dynamic here. It's not just all about fucking and repopulating the earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think quite the opposite. He's kind of a likable hero.
By the end, for certain, and like even throughout, like we've talked about, he's never embodying that idea of it. Like there's a couple of times where he's like physically aggressive, but he's doing it almost as like a chuckle to be like, this is what you expect a man to act like, like when he like pulls her up with the chain and then he immediately slacks it. And he's like, that's crazy that you would think I would actually do that. Like that's what you expect me to do, but I'm not actually going to do that.
Yeah. And well, I think, and he says, how do you think I feel? It's like, I'm not a piece of meat. I'm not, I'm more than just a sexual object. So it kind of turns the trope on its head a little bit. So
yeah. And I mean like an eagle, I don't even want to say eagle-eyed, just like an empathetic viewer can look at that and understand what they're doing, which is like, imagine you thought that way about women. Oh, look, that's happening here, and he doesn't like it. Imagine that happened to you,
Which I think is one of the only reasons the movie works, and I think it happened by accident. Like, I don't think the filmmakers really, the writing and the directing and everything, I think that was all from the performances of the actors, trying to give it a little bit of empathy and have a little fun with it and be tongue-in-cheek.
My final note to the end of the movie.
Can I just say I got a note
all
from somebody who's watching the show right now, and they said it's a men ending.
Amending.
Amending.
My note was Sam kind of ends up with his own harem. Stupid but happy ending.
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't call it a harem. It's all in a day's work for Sam Hell.
He also doesn't seem happy about it.
He's got to put babies in those women. He's got to clock in, and then he goes home to his, I guess.
He also delivers the line like it. What does he say? Like
the soldier's work is never done.
But he delivers it in like the most non-cliche. Like it's like he found every other syllable to say it. Like we're like, wait a minute, I've heard that line delivered before,
nowhere. It's like he had never heard that line delivered before. And he just,
Yeah.
he just said it.
Because the soldier's work is never done. It's like usually it's about killing. A soldier's work is never done.
Yeah.
Like we go on killing more fucking.
But this soldier has
Soldier's
to
work.
create life.
We're done.
He has to shoot semen into multiple women.
Jesus Christ. Well, with that, should we go into our Home Alone of It All final thoughts and ratings?
What'd you say?
If you had
Home
to
Alone?
pick one,
What do you think the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all? Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta
When's the Home
know.
Alone
When
of it all?
is the Home Alone of it all?
When is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's
Now
the
that's
Home Alone of
the
it
Home
all.
Alone of It All. Pat, you've been here once before, but it feels like you've been here 100 times before. I would love to know from you your Home Alone of It All, your final thoughts, and your rating. Now, let me just tell you, for
I'm
anybody
adding a
that's
new
never
criteria.
listened,
Also, your 3-pronged penis of it all.
let's hear your 3 snakes of it all. I want to tell you all about the Home Alone of It All element of it first. If you haven't listened to this show before, the Home Alone of It All is the idea that when Kevin McAllister in the movie Home Alone slaps down the blueprint to destroy his enemies, that's sort of the moment of the movie we're all there to see. So that's the Home Alone of It All. That knowing that, go forward with your Home Alone of It All final thoughts and rating. Your rating can be out of anything also. The floor is yours, Pat King.
Oh man, Home Alone of it all for this movie is hard to sum up because how do you encapsulate a weird, horny movie about mutated frogs? But I think it would be the Mos Eisley moment when they go into Frogtown and you see, that's where they kind of like busted their proverbial wad on the budget. That's where they have all the costumes, there's a fight scene.
Unintended.
It's the cantina moment. I think it's when the big Frogtown reveal, and the Bull's entrance. Yeah, that sequence when they spend it in the bar is the Home Alone of it all for me. Because I think it's a high point in a lot of different ways. But what's not to love? This movie has everything, so it's just like, how do you pin down one thing? It's
Sometimes it has
weird.
extra things like extra penises and
Extra penises and like the opening sequence that you're like, oh, this is a dystopian sci-fi film, and then they're just like, nope, fucking with you.
Yeah.
And it becomes it seems to become the movie it was meant to be by like halfway through.
Yeah, when they figure out like, okay, now we really spent a lot of money on this Frogtown, guys. We need to get our money's worth out of it. Please.
Yeah, it really felt like they were building the ship while they were, sailing it. And then what are we doing? Like
Final thoughts.
Ratings? Are we done like 5 frog dicks out of
3? Wow, that's more frog dicks than even he had.
I guess is, it's not for everybody. I had a lot of nostalgia. I love B movies. I love a lot of stupid fun that's earnest. And, give it a chance, even if you're just going to laugh at it. Like, this is perfect for a Mystery Science Theater 3000 night where your friends are just like getting stoned and riffing on something. A great double feature with They Live if you want to see how to do a really good movie. And how
With
to do
Roddy Piper.
Yeah, like this is how you turn a really kind of bad actor with charisma that's very situational. This is how you make a good movie around an actor, and this is how you put a potentially good actor in a movie and just kind of don't waste him, but like
you're like, are we relying too much on Roddy Piper's charisma for how it comes to Frogtown? Maybe.
The fact that they needed to get him an acting coach for this movie, I think, speaks to how weak the direction was. Because it's like, listen, man, Roddy Piper, if you don't know how to use him, you don't know who he is, I'm sure John Carpenter was like, yeah, fucking Roddy Piper, put him in this movie. I know exactly what he needs to be doing.
He can say very little and be a guy with literally no name.
Right, yeah, he needs to be suplexing a dude and fighting him for 20 minutes in the middle of a narrative sci-fi movie. So yeah, a lot of dumb fun. Like, do it as a double feature, do it as a late night movie where you're smashing beers. And as far as ratings, I give it 3 out of 5 snake dicks.
Pat, I have to say, I would love to have you back anytime because you remind me a lot of Ben Mason. Ben Mason, I don't know if you've ever met him in real life, but he's a Heligonian, much like yourself and I, but he also has the insight, a similar insight to you. I hope that you guys cross paths in real life. I would love to have you both on the show, and I'm going to talk to Steve about setting that up. Steve,
Love that.
what are your final thoughts? Your Home Alone and your rating, buddy. Also, I love you, Steve. I just wanted to tell you.
Oh, thanks. My final thought, or my Home Alone of it all, I guess, is pretty much the exact moment of Pat King's Home Alone of it all, except mine is exactly when they sit down with Leon.
Yes.
Is exactly when they sit down with Leon. Okay. And Leon being the character with the fez and the umbrella that he's trying to stay out of the sunlight with, even though they're inside. I feel like it's maybe just like a spot that is his in the bar, right? Like, you know, when like you're in Leon's seat, like you get the idea that umbrella doesn't leave with him, right? Like he probably just has that spot set up. And I got so much from the character of Leon from his 5 minutes of screen time, and he doesn't show up again ever.
Nope.
And it spoke a lot to the world of Frogtown, and it made me more interested in Frogtown. And the fact that Bull shows up right after and adds a little bit more to Frogtown after that only really solidified my idea that Leon is an interesting character in Frogtown, and I would love to walk around with Leon in Frogtown and see what the rest of his day is like, because Bull shows up and is like, "We told you, Leon, you can't be doing this shit in here," which means Leon has done this before. This is not the first time Leon has fucking tried to do a slave trade in this bar. I think it's the most interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like I'm watching some kind of Star Wars-y thing. You know, it's like Watto or like Bib Fortuna from Star Wars, like you know all these characters that you don't know a lot about. Like I had that kind of like vibe from it, but he's got a lot more dialogue than Watto or Bib Fortuna, and I thought that I knew him, and I wanted to know more about him. Like I was kind of hoping he would show up at the end and be like, "Come on, we gotta get out of here. It's me, Leon." Like do like a Lando or something at the end, but it didn't happen. My overall thoughts of the movie are that this is one of those things that like I saw it once and I was like, we got to talk about this on the show one day. And then when you asked us to do it, Pat, I was like so happy because I'm like, finally we'll be able to spend a weirdly long amount of time talking about this movie, and we did.
Too
long. I'm glad we did because it
giving me this,
but short for our show.
Well, listen, it was still longer than the actual film. Like,
yeah,
by a lot. This might be one of the shorter.
But the reason I wanted to do it is because like it allows you to like stretch out those moments that you have a thought about where you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then when we can sit here and kind of like pull that one thing apart, we get it a little bit more, and it makes us maybe understand what they were thinking a little bit.
Part of me wanted to discuss it because I've been telling people about this movie for years, and everyone's like, well, what do you like about it? Why does it work? Like, what's good about it? And I'm like, man, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, and I mean, even at the end of this conversation, I still don't really know, but I know a little bit more than I did before we started talking about it. It's weird. It's interesting the fact that you're built up to hate the character, and then you eventually love him. Like we kind of figured that out throughout, and like why it works and why certain aspects of the other characters play into him maybe being a lovable character by the end. It all does work as a movie. It's sort of like a weird puzzle that like we had to solve. Like it's not something that you have to solve when you watch it, but then when we talk about it, we're like, wait, why does this work? Because it does kind of work as a movie.
I think if you take any one of this like secondary or tertiary characters out of the movie, it stops working.
Yeah,
You know,
except for maybe the guy at the very end who didn't matter and didn't need to be in the beginning either. But I mean, the only reason we don't trust him at the beginning is because of him. So maybe they had a version where he wasn't there and they're like, it's not working. We trust him too much. We need to make him untrustable for a bit.
Yeah, there has to be a human element of the villainy. It's it's got to be some guy betraying.
Because all of those moments with his character do feel very separate from the like you could pull them all out and the movie would still be there and still be the exact same thing that it is.
Right.
And those things do kind of feel like they're sort of like orbiting the story. Like they're not part of it. They're just there to be a thing that exists. I'd be interested to know if those were added afterwards, just to be like, he's too likable. We need to make him unlikable. Maybe he's a rapist and this guy doesn't like him. And because like they feel planted in, like they're not part of anything else. Anyway,
I'd be curious. I want to see the DVD extras for Hell Comes to Broadcast.
Somebody get the DVD extras.
Yeah, there's got to be a documentary. Yeah. Someone must have been there with a camera.
It's called Hello Comes to Frogtown.
Hello.
Okay, so my rating for this movie is going to be a bazooka that doesn't work. Because, like, it's a bazooka, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
To ask you guys, what do you want first? Do you want my original rating from November 19th, 2024, or do you want my new rating?
I want to see how your opinion has evolved of this film after multiple watches and a 2-hour discussion.
So the first one first. I was going to say is neither an option. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the first one first. Yeah.
Why do you hate me?
Just getting drafted over and over.
Okay. November 19th, 2024. Here's the if you're playing a survival horror game and you find a little videotape, a little audio tape. Here's what you find. Okay, you can stop asking me now if I've seen this film. It's weird and insane, and the first half plays like a softcore porno. Once they arrive,
wait, was this found in Frogtown? Like a tape found in Frogtown?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Okay.
It switches into a pretty entertaining post-apocalyptic Fallout-esque sci-fi film. In parentheses, I can still see where the Fallout games took inspiration. Roddy Piper isn't nearly as good in this as he is in They Live, but still gives a decent performance. The special effects for the frog people are very good for the era. 3 out of 5. Watch it so people can stop asking you if you've seen it. Here's my today rating. This is a fun movie, but is way too horny. It plays as a softcore porn flick you see late at night, more than a sci-fi, but with more lore. It's surprising it has this much impact on nerd culture. It's been referenced in a lot of places, from Fallout to Family Guy. That said, I liked the campiness, and Roddy Piper's performance is wacky and quippy, which is enjoyable. It looks like a cheap TV show, and that's okay. I just want to point out the version that I watched it on Daily Motion, and it looked like a Canadian fucking...
Well, you watched the wrong version. It's on Tubi, man. The full film version.
I know. I watched the original version as a download.
Okay. I went to the high seas with mine because I've got a guy who does like high definition encodings of old.
This is fun for friends.
The version I watched was over gigabytes. I watched a high as fuck quality version.
Incredible. And that's the version I watched originally. This time around, I watched it on Daily Motion because it was the easiest one to find. This is a fun for friends to watch on a Saturday night and develop a drinking game out of. Take a drink every time.
Drinking habit out of? Is that what you said?
Just kidding. develop a drinking game out of.
I
Take
used
a
to have
drink
it.
every time there's gratuitous underwear shots. I give it a 3 over there. Today, I give it a 2.2 out of 5. It's fine, but man, it's a slog to review. I also give this movie a see-through nightgown on a large-breasted woman.
Sounds like a pretty big 2 out of 5 to me.
It's on Hoopla too. Explain why you watched this to the librarian next time you go to the library.
Is she wearing
I will
big
not.
glasses and military style lingerie?
Listen, I
The
can
funny thing would
masturbate
be
to
like
this
you would
movie.
go in and you'd start explaining, and she'd be like, "Shh," and then you're like, "But I just want it." And she's like, "I watched it for the same reason."
Steve, can we hear from the plug man?
The plug man.
All right, let me just plug this in right here and.
That motherfucker is dead. Pat, what do you got
Sure.
to plug this week?
I don't have a ton to plug. We were talking briefly in the pre-show about maybe doing a little video game stream. I've been meaning to play through Final Fantasy VI.
Please
So,
bring
yeah.
me back to that.
Follow me at the Eldritch Abbott on Twitch. And other than that, not a ton of social media going on. I work at a bookstore now, which means I've been unplugging a hell of a lot, which is nice. It also made me realize that I wanted to suggest to you guys maybe a month of films that were based on books.
I don't know how to read.
Hey!
I cannot read a word.
Yeah. No, that would be cool. We wanted to do I've been pitching it since the beginning of this fucking podcast, but we never actually got around to it, which was all Philip K. Dick
Yeah, I'd be down for
movies.
I do love Philip K.
And
Dick.
I can see the Blade Runner in the background there, and I'm like, this guy
Blade Runner,
likes Philip K. Dick.
J.G. Ballard. I've been thinking about Exorcist 3, which I only watched very recently.
My God, I love.
Fuck, man.
It's so
Mick
good.
Foley.
Have you seen it, Jason?
No,
Okay. Well, just-
but I will. I'll watch them all.
It is maybe the best Exorcist. I would even say it's maybe better than the first one.
Quickly became my favorite Exorcist. I was like, this
Yeah.
movie fucks big time. And it's
Brad Dorff's in it.
How do you
Jason,
think
you
the
love Chucky, don't
Sexorcist
you?
lines up with The Exorcist?
Oh, I've never seen The Exorcist. I've only seen The Sexorcist.
Okay.
Pat King, thank
yes.
you. If you have anything else, go through it,
Yep.
please.
That's it. That's it. Hopefully, catch me on this show again soon.
Yeah, you'll be
you will
back.
be. You'll be back.
You're only going to be back. You're the only new guest that we have on the docket. Thank you, Pat. What a great guest.
Thank you,
Give
yeah.
yourself a round of applause again.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was actually hoping you wouldn't.
I don't applaud myself
Steve,
right now.
What do you got going on?
Why don't you go
your-
first, because mine's gonna end.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, my name is Jason Phillips, and I do a lot of things around the world, including Hold Up a Movie Podcast. This here's a plug. Hold Up a Movie Podcast came in tonight. That's great. And
Heavy
also
metal.
go do that animation celebration with heavy metal, Fern Gully, and Paprika. Paprika fucking kicks dick, and also Fern Gully kicks rear, and also heavy metal kicks ass. I love all three of those movies. Have me on for one of them. And
What the heck?
also,
Great choices.
I already read that. Listen, you can find.
Wait, are you
our
going to be
show-
on Hold Up for that?
I would
line?
love to. I would love.
Oh,
to.
I
I'm
thought
kind
that
of
you
back
were.
in-
I thought you were. I was going to be like,
No,
what the
I'm
heck?
not.
Why is Jason on for that? Not me. Just kidding.
I'm not. We'll have us
But at the
both
same
on.
time, I wasn't actually kidding. What the heck?
I could actually,
Well,
I could
I wasn't
actually
actually
pull out
kidding either.
issues. I could actually pull out issues of heavy metal from the 80s that have the original stories
Well,
that
have
they
Pat on then.
made
Have
the movie
Pat.
out of.
What if all
Have
three of
fun.
us come on and we're all experts of different movies?
Yeah. No, I've got issues with Tarna from
They
the
got Jody
original.
on. They got Joe. Everybody shut the fuck up. They
All
have
right,
Jody
never
on.
mind. Never mind.
Yeah, everybody eat shit, you idiots. Yeah, fucking call us all morons. Look, fucking World Mind's calling us all morons right here. Listen, every week, right here on Twitch and YouTube, you can find this show. It's called Hey, Did You See This One? It's the most avant-garde podcast you've ever seen in your life.
It really is not.
Yeah, well, I don't care. First and foremost,
Really quick,
you can
so-
find me here on this show. On Friday, I'll put the show up. You can find it. On Sunday, I'm going to put the audio version of the podcast, on-demand version of the podcast. That's where I'm going to put all of those things. Oh, more people are saying things. It's the most wonderful, I don't care. Listen.
Jesus.
Listen.
Jason soaked a tampon in vodka before he started this podcast, and it's finally kicking in.
Somebody on this very podcast. Oh,
Oh, son of a
finally,
bitch.
finally, Pat gets mooned
Eat my
by the man
ass,
himself,
Pat King.
Z himself. Listen, Steve is a very illustrious artist. He has various illustrations that we can put in television T-shirts. No, that doesn't make any sense. T-shirts. The Grimoire of Familiar Killers.
I drew
That's
that.
hard.
Yeah.
That's hard as fuck. Buy it.
That's sick.
Killade.
Hell yeah.
It's hard as fuck. Buy it. Twinkerbell. It's Pride Month.
That makes me hard as fuck.
Beat me to it.
Zardos. Hard as fuck. Put it on a t-shirt. It's already on one. The Howie Mandel effect. It's on a t-shirt. Buy it, you idiot. And if one person buys a Twinkerbell t-shirt, you'll get unlocked access to Corporal Tunnel Syndrome. The ultimate.
That's my James Bond villain who he digs tunnels and he goes, well, Mr.
Well,
Bond,
well.
you finally made it to my lair.
Here's the thing.
Oh.
I want to tell everybody about right
I
now
was gonna
that
do a monologue.
this
Motherfuckers.
on the 26th of June, Al Snow, the professional wrestler Al Snow, what does everyone head? He is coming to Super Kicked. I'm the announcer at Super Kicked. Okay, it's my claim to fame.
Jason, I don't want to
Little-
cut you off, but like I also need to do my plug. So can you hurry the fuck up? It's been forever.
You slowed me down by
Sorry.
saying that.
Go ahead.
Super Kicked this month. I'm the announcer at Super Kicked Professional Wrestling here in Toronto. Al Snow. Remember the Attitude Era? Well, it's going to be reignited when Al Snow comes to Super Kicked. Sorry, Steve. What do you got burning on the back burner?
Oh my god. I got so much shit on the front burner that I can't even get to the back burner right now. But I mean, I guess I have the constant thing, which is Darth Theorist. Oh, is that me? Is that what you think of me?
No, here's
So
what I think of you.
rude. Dun, dun, diddle, diddle, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that is how I
Sorry,
feel.
Steve. Sorry, Steve. I'm sorry.
Darth Theorist, the YouTube channel. We're almost at 50,000 subscribers, which is really kind of like a cool thing that I never ever thought would happen. But what it does is make me think is like, can we get to 100,000 subscribers one day where we get that cool thing sent to us by YouTube? I've written a few episodes recently and they're doing quite well and people seem to like them. I think the latest one that I wrote has like the most comments we've ever had on a video before, which also cool. Like it makes me feel cool. We also do the Three-Eyed Theorist, which is all about Game of Thrones. Obviously, Darth Theorist is about Star Wars, if you like that. So check those out because I'm slowly getting more and more into it every single day where I'm like, do I love this? Like, do I want this to be a thing that is just like part of my whole life all the time? And I am kind of getting into it. I have the follow up to the Shmi Skywalker as a evil Sith Lord story coming, which I know people are waiting for. It's coming. It's coming. I'm 18 pages deep, and I'm like, most of our stories are 12 pages, and I'm already at 18. I think this is going to be a 40-page story. It might be a whole 2 hours. Other than that, I have the Stanland, which, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to play again.
I would love to see it.
Okay, so Stanland is a podcast, a comedy podcast that is episodic, and it is a narrative, a story. So they've got a bunch of actors that are playing characters within the story, and I am in it. I play multiple characters throughout, and I'm also like a narrator-ish type person, but not the main narrator. I tried to go through this. I couldn't really figure out what it meant. So anyway, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to play it now.
From WSUS Raleigh, I'm Milo Goddard, and do I have a story for you? In the fall of 2022, a podcaster by the name of Melanie Hughes went missing. A few weeks later, by the side of a road in Poolesville, Maryland, a digital recorder belonging to Melanie was found.
The wardrobe is a portal?
Yeah, though technically the portal was there first. Mom built an IKEA wardrobe around it. It's the Florida Flula model. Some of these changes, wow, not sitting good with me. Everything's a little too modern.
So let me understand, Zingia was a simpler place, but in the past 12 years, it's become Myrtle Beach?
I am Azran, king of Zingia, hence retired. Now I rule nothing. I forgot to introduce you to my guest.
Bobby? Look, I'm bringing this dump into modern times, and you morons are gonna help me.
We're stuck here as his servants unless we find some other way out.
I suggest you head to the dreaded dungeons of Chiorotha.
He's called the Dark One for a reason. Dread spreads across the land upon his growing shadow, or something.
Hello, guests. Greetings. Come in. Come in.
Get me home. Open the portal. Get us both home. Me and Melanie. I'm done.
You're not going anywhere.
Stanland is a 5-part audio fiction series featuring Bobby Moynihan, Ray Seahorn, Steve Little, Tim Sharp, John Hamm, John Waters, and more.
You're not going to want to miss Stanland. Available this summer on the Sonar Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
I could hear Steve Little in that so hard.
Steve Little.
From Eastbound and Down, and also Vice Versa.
Oh, because he's the lion, right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's cool. I'm in it, and listen, I guess, when you have the chance. That's my main thing that I'm kind of cool and proud about.
When will release, Steve?
I believe it's coming in September, but I'll get like a better update. But like it just dropped at the Tribeca Film Festival, I think today actually, which is why they sent it to me. Yeah, they sent me like a shitty phone version of them being like, "Your voice is at the end. Look," and then I saw my name at the end, and I was like, "My name's in it." And they're like, "Of course, your name's in it." I'm like, "Oh my god, I didn't know my name was going to be in it."
This looks so cool. Fantastic.
Anyway, I'm excited to hear about it.
Give yourself a round of applause. Well, we're at that point again where there's just one question that needs to be asked each and every week. And Pat, I think you know what that question is.
Hey, did you see this one?
Scooby Dooby Dooby Doo, Scooby Dooby Dooby Doo. Oh my god. It's a dead squid lip. I wonder if I take out the squid lip injections from his lips, if that's worth money.
I don't know. Like, what if you take the squid lip out of the squid? Does that still make him a man?
Get away from me, flat lips! You sick fuck. Why are you wearing no clothes?
I've been wearing clothes this whole time.
I'm blind. Help me. Please.
I'm like, are you guys just... Is this a recording?
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mario Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.